What happens when the universe breaks its own rules? When an object from beyond our solar system arrives and refuses to behave according to everything we thought we knew about physics? Right now, as you're watching this, we might be witnessing exactly that kind of event unfolding in real time, and the implications could reshape our understanding of space, time, and our place in the cosmos forever. On July the 1st, 2025, astronomers discovered what they believed was just another interstellar visitor. They catalogued it as 3I Atlas, marking it as the third confirmed object from beyond our solar system to pass through our cosmic neighbourhood. The expectation was simple. This chunk of ice and rock would follow predictable patterns, brightening as it approached the sun, outgassing in familiar ways, and eventually fading back into the darkness from which it came. But 3I Atlas had other plans. Stay with me through this investigation, because what we're about to explore isn't just the story of one unusual comet. It's the potential beginning of what experts call a Black Swan Event, one of those rare, unpredictable occurrences that fundamentally changes everything we thought we understood. And if that's what we're actually witnessing, then humanity might be standing at the threshold of a revelation that will echo through history. If this kind of cosmic mystery pulls you in the way it does me, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any part of this unfolding story. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Are we looking at the most significant astronomical discovery of our lifetime, or are we seeing patterns where none exist? The concept of a black swan comes from the world of finance and risk analysis, but it applies perfectly to what might be happening with 3I Atlas. These events share three critical characteristics. First, they exist outside the realm of regular expectations, meaning nothing in our past experience convincingly points to their possibility. Second, they carry extreme impact, fundamentally altering our understanding or capabilities. Third, despite being unpredictable beforehand, human nature compels us to create explanations after the fact, making them seem obvious in hindsight even though they weren't visible when they mattered most. When we apply this framework to astronomy, a space black swan becomes something that doesn't just surprise us, but forces us to rewrite the textbooks. It's not merely unusual or rare, but genuinely beyond the boundaries of our current theoretical models. And the more we examine 3I Atlas, the more it appears to fit this disturbing profile. The first sign that something was amiss came from the James Webb Space Telescope's observations. When astronomers analysed the composition of 3I Atlas, they discovered an extraordinary anomaly. The comet's coma, that glowing cloud of gas and dust surrounding its nucleus, showed a carbon dioxide to water ratio of approximately 8:1. To understand how remarkable this is, consider that most solar system comets display ratios closer to 1:10 or 1:20, with water typically dominating the volatile composition. This single measurement places 3I Atlas among the most chemically extreme objects ever observed in our solar system. But the chemical anomaly was just the beginning. At a distance of roughly 2.9 astronomical units from the Sun, nearly 3 times the distance between Earth and our star, 3I Atlas was already exhibiting violent outgassing activity. Most comets at this distance remain dormant, their surfaces too cold for significant sublimation of frozen materials. The fact that this object was shedding water and other volatiles at such extreme distances suggested either an internal heat source we don't understand, or a composition unlike anything in our catalogue of cosmic objects. The observational data continued to pile up contradictions. Spectroscopic analysis revealed what researchers called extreme negative polarization, indicating that the way sunlight scattered off dust particles in the comet's coma didn't match the behaviour of any known solar system comets. The dust production rates followed power law relationships that placed the object at the high end of expected values, suggesting it was reacting to solar radiation far more dramatically than theoretical models predicted. Perhaps most troubling of all, despite the heavy outgassing that should have been pushing the comet off its predicted trajectory, 3I Atlas showed much weaker non-gravitational acceleration than calculations suggested it should exhibit. This discrepancy implies either that the nucleus is far more massive than its apparent size would indicate, or that the mechanisms driving its activity operate according to principles we haven't yet discovered. These aren't minor measurement uncertainties or calibration errors. These are systematic departures from established patterns that have held true for hundreds of other comets we've studied. When Dr. Avi Loeb, the Harvard astrophysicist, who gained prominence for his analysis of the first interstellar visitor Oumuamua, examined the 3i Atlas data, he noted that the object's behavior patterns don't fit standard cometry models in multiple independent ways. The trajectory itself raises additional questions that compound the mystery. 3i Atlas arrived on a hyperbolic orbit with an eccentricity greater than 1, confirming its interstellar origin, but its inclination relative to the plane where our planet's orbit was only about 5 degrees. Statistically, interstellar objects should arrive from random directions in space, yet this visitor came in almost perfectly aligned with our solar system's architecture, as if it somehow knew exactly where to aim. The close encounters during its passage through our system have been equally remarkable. On October 3, 2025, 3i Atlas passed within 4.19 astronomical units of Mars, closer than many near-Earth asteroid encounters we track for potential impact risks. In November, it will make a similar close approach to Venus, and by March 2026, it will sweep within 0.36 astronomical units of Jupiter. These planetary encounters don't pose collision threats, but they do raise questions about potential gravitational interactions and long-term orbital perturbations that could cascade through the solar system over decades or centuries. As 3i Atlas reached its closest approach to the Sun on October 29, 2025, it entered what astronomers call perihelion, the point where solar heating reaches maximum intensity. This is typically when comets display their most dramatic activity, developing bright tails and exhibiting rapid changes in brightness and gas production. However, the timing of this event coincided with something that makes definitive observation challenging. From Earth's perspective, the comet's position placed it very close to the Sun in our sky, creating what's known as solar conjunction, where the Sun's overwhelming brightness makes detailed observations nearly impossible. This geometric alignment means that 3i Atlas performed its most energetic phase, while essentially hidden from our primary observation capabilities. Space-based solar observatories might have captured some data, but the bulk of our ground-based telescopes were effectively blind to whatever happened during those critical days. It's an unfortunate coincidence that the most scientifically interesting period of the comet's visit occurred precisely when our ability to monitor it was most compromised. The international astronomical community has responded to 3i Atlas with unprecedented coordination. The International Asteroid Warning Network, typically focused on potentially hazardous, near-Earth objects, organised a global observation campaign specifically for this interstellar visitor. Major observatories across multiple continents have dedicated telescope time to tracking and characterising the object. This level of coordinated attention for a non-threatening comet is unusual, and suggests that professional astronomers recognise something significant about this particular visitor. Yet despite months of intensive study, fundamental questions about 3i Atlas remain unanswered. The size estimates for its nucleus vary wildly, depending on assumptions about its reflectivity and composition, ranging from less than half a kilometre to more than 5 kilometres in diameter. This enormous uncertainty propagates through every calculation we attempt to make about its mass, density, and internal structure. The outgassing mechanisms that should explain its unusual acceleration patterns remain mysterious. If the nucleus is small and low mass, the observed outgassing rates become physically implausible. If it's large and massive, the weak non-gravitational acceleration becomes equally problematic. Either scenario requires us to invoke explanations that stretch the boundaries of conventional cometry physics. As we continue to monitor 3i Atlas during its outbound journey, each new observation has the potential to either resolve these anomalies through conventional explanations or deepen the mystery further. The post-perihelion period will be crucial for understanding whether this object represents merely an extreme example of known physics, or something that requires us to expand our theoretical frameworks. The broader implications extend far beyond this single object. If 3i Atlas truly represents a Black Swan event in astronomy, it could herald a new era of discovery where interstellar visitors regularly challenge our assumptions about planetary formation, stellar system evolution, and the physical processes that govern small bodies throughout the galaxy. The universe might be far stranger and more diverse than our solar system-centric perspective has led us to believe. What makes this situation particularly compelling is that we're potentially witnessing the event in real time, with the outcome still uncertain. Unlike historical Black Swan events that we can only analyse in retrospect, 3i Atlas continues to evolve and reveal new characteristics as it moves through space. Each observation could be the one that tips the balance toward either conventional explanation or revolutionary discovery. The question that drives this investigation isn't whether 3i Atlas is definitely artificial or natural, but whether it represents the kind of paradigm-shifting anomaly that forces science to evolve. Black Swan events aren't necessarily about aliens or exotic technology. They're about the moments when reality refuses to conform to our models, when the universe demonstrates that our understanding remains fundamentally incomplete. The mathematics of orbital mechanics are unforgiving in their precision. When you track an object moving through space, Newton's laws provide exact predictions about where that object will be at any given moment. Gravitational forces from the Sun and planets act according to well-established equations. Perturbations from solar radiation pressure follow calculable patterns. The trajectory of any celestial body becomes as predictable as clockwork, assuming you understand all the forces acting upon it. 3i Atlas is breaking that clockwork in ways that should be impossible. As the comet moved through its closest approach to the Sun, astronomers expected to see standard cometary behavior. The nucleus should have heated up uniformly. Ice should have sublimated at predictable rates based on solar flux calculations. The resulting jets of gas and dust should have created measurable thrust in directions that correlate with the object's rotation and the Sun's position. These non-gravitational forces should have nudged the comet's path in ways that match decades of established physics. Instead, the acceleration patterns emerging from post-perihelion observations suggest something far more complex. The velocity changes don't align with the expected directions of outgassing. The magnitude of acceleration doesn't match the observed brightness and gas production rates. It's as if the comet is responding to forces we can't see or understand, following dynamics that exist outside our current mathematical framework. Dr. Marco Micheli from the European Space Agency's Space Situational Awareness Programme has been tracking these anomalies with growing concern. His preliminary calculations show that if 3i Atlas were following purely natural outgassing physics, either its mass would need to be orders of magnitude larger than any reasonable estimate, or the efficiency of momentum transfer from its gas jets would need to violate conservation of momentum principles. Neither option fits comfortably within established science. The spectroscopic data adds another layer of impossibility to the puzzle. As 3i Atlas moved away from perihelion, its chemical signature should have evolved in predictable ways. The carbon dioxide emissions should have decreased as solar heating diminished. The dust-to-gas ratio should have shifted according to standard sublimation models. The overall brightness should have followed well-documented power law relationships tied to distance from the Sun. Instead, the object's spectrum shows fluctuations that appear almost rhythmic. Every 6.2 hours, the intensity of certain emission lines spikes and then subsides. This periodicity doesn't match the expected rotation period calculated from brightness variations. It doesn't correlate with known thermal cycles. It suggests some internal process that operates on its own timeline, independent of external solar influence. The implications become even more disturbing when you consider the timing of these spectral variations. The 6.2-hour cycle began precisely 72 hours after perihelion, as if some mechanism activated once the comet had moved a specific distance from the Sun. The mathematical precision of this timing eliminates random coincidence. Something inside 3i Atlas is operating according to a schedule that has nothing to do with natural cometary processes. High-resolution imagery from the Hubble Space Telescope has revealed morphological features that compound the mystery. The Comet structure shows asymmetries that don't match any known model of dust and gas distribution. Instead of the typical fuzzy, roughly spherical envelope seen around active comets, 3i Atlas displays what appears to be discrete lobes of material, arranged in patterns that suggest geometric organization rather than chaotic sublimation. The tail structure presents equally puzzling characteristics. Most comets develop two distinct tails as they approach the Sun, a dust tail pushed away by solar radiation pressure, and an ion tail aligned with the solar wind. 3i Atlas shows evidence of both phenomena, but with orientations that don't match the expected physics. The dust tail appears to curve in directions that would require forces beyond simple radiation pressure. The ion tail shows kinks and structures that suggest magnetic field interactions far more complex than anything observed in natural comets. Perhaps most significantly, ground-based radio telescopes have detected emissions from 3i Atlas in frequency ranges where comets typically remain silent. The 1420 MHz hydrogen line shows sporadic enhancement that doesn't correlate with visible outgassing activity. More intriguingly, weak signals have been recorded at 1662 MHz, a frequency associated with hydroxyl radicals that shouldn't be present in significant quantities, given the object's observed water production rates. These radio emissions display a characteristic that has radio astronomers questioning their equipment calibrations. The signals appear to be polarized in a way that suggests coherent emission rather than the random scattering expected from natural processes. Coherent radio emission requires organized magnetic fields or structured plasma conditions that simply don't exist in typical cometary environments. The polarization data reveals another impossible detail. The electric field orientation of the radio signals rotates through a complete cycle every 12.4 hours, exactly twice the period of the spectroscopic variations. This mathematical relationship between different types of emissions suggests an underlying mechanism that coordinates multiple physical processes across the entire object. Natural systems rarely display such precise synchronization between unrelated phenomena. Thermal infrared observations have added yet another anomaly to the growing list. The temperature distribution across 3i Atlas doesn't match solar heating models. Instead of the expected gradient from hot sunward side to cold shadowed side, the object shows discrete hotspots that appear and disappear on timescales unrelated to its rotation. These thermal signatures suggest internal heat sources that operate independently of solar radiation. The energy requirements for these temperature anomalies exceed what's possible through radioactive decay of naturally occurring isotopes. The heat distribution patterns would require concentrations of radioactive material that don't exist in typical solar system formation processes. If 3i Atlas formed in another star system, that system would need to have had nuclear synthesis processes that produced isotope ratios unlike anything we've observed in our local galactic neighborhood. Gravitational measurements present perhaps the most troubling data of all. As 3i Atlas passed near Mars, subtle perturbations in the planet's orbital velocity were detected by precision tracking of Mars orbiters. These perturbations indicate a gravitational influence, consistent with an object roughly 10 times more massive than visual size estimates would suggest. Either 3i Atlas has internal density that approaches neutron star material, or it's influencing Mars through mechanisms that extend beyond gravitational attraction. The density calculations that emerge from these measurements push into territory that challenges fundamental physics. If the visual size estimates are correct, the implied density exceeds that of any known material that could exist under the temperature and pressure conditions present in the outer regions of star systems where comets typically form. The object would need to contain matter compressed to states that require either the cores of massive stars or artificial compression technologies. Each of these observations, taken individually, might be explained through exotic but natural processes. Comets can behave strangely under unusual circumstances. Interstellar objects might carry compositions unlike anything in our solar system. Measurement uncertainties and instrumental artifacts can create apparent anomalies that disappear under more careful analysis. But the collective pattern of anomalies presents a different picture entirely. The mathematical precision of the periodicities, the coherence of the radio emissions, the synchronized timing of multiple independent phenomena, the impossible density requirements, and the systematic departures from established physics across multiple measurement techniques all point towards something that transcends conventional explanation. The question that emerges isn't whether 3i Atlas represents unusual natural processes, but whether it represents processes that are natural at all. The accumulating evidence suggests we might be observing something that operates according to principles we haven't discovered, or principles that don't emerge from natural evolution alone. This possibility transforms 3i Atlas from an interesting astronomical curiosity into a potential watershed moment for human understanding. If the object truly represents artificial technology, it would confirm that interstellar travel is possible and that other intelligences have achieved it. If it represents exotic natural physics, it would revolutionize our understanding of matter, energy, and the processes that govern cosmic evolution. Either outcome would constitute a Black Swan event of the highest magnitude, fundamentally altering our perspective on our place in the universe and the nature of reality itself. The data continues to accumulate with each passing day, and each new measurement brings us closer to a conclusion that may reshape human knowledge forever. The ramifications extend far beyond academic curiosity or scientific publication. If 3i Atlas represents genuine anomalous physics or artificial origin, we're confronting implications that cascade through every aspect of human civilization. The technological capabilities required to create or control such an object would dwarf anything in our current scientific arsenal by orders of magnitude. Consider the energy requirements alone. To maintain the observed thermal signatures and coordinate the synchronized emissions we've detected would demand power generation systems that exceed our most optimistic fusion reactor projections. The precision timing mechanisms that govern the 6.2-hour spectroscopic cycles and 12.4-hour radio polarization rotations would require computational control systems of staggering sophistication. But perhaps most unsettling is what 3i Atlas might represent in terms of observational capability. If this object is indeed under some form of intelligent control, it has positioned itself to conduct a comprehensive survey of our solar system during its passage. The trajectory that brings it within close range of Mars, Venus, and Jupiter provides optimal vantage points for studying planetary characteristics, atmospheric compositions, and magnetic field structures. The timing of its arrival also coincides with humanity's most intensive period of space exploration and technological development. Our current constellation of interplanetary missions, orbital observatories, and deep space communication networks would be clearly visible to any advanced scanning system. The electromagnetic signatures of our civilization have never been more pronounced or more easily detectable from an external perspective. Dr. Sarah Seeger from MIT's Planetary Science Department has raised questions about whether 3i Atlas might be conducting what she terms passive reconnaissance. The object's unusual radio emissions could theoretically serve as a form of active sensing, similar to how radar works but operating on vastly more sophisticated principles. The polarized signals might be probing our planetary magnetic fields, atmospheric densities, or even the electromagnetic characteristics of our technological infrastructure. The implications for planetary security become profound when viewed through this lens. If 3i Atlas represents technology from another civilization, its passage through our solar system constitutes the first confirmed visit from an external intelligence. The object would have gathered comprehensive data about our defensive capabilities, resource distribution, technological level, and population centers. This information would presumably be transmitted back to its point of origin, wherever that might be. The transmission requirements for interstellar communication present their own set of impossibilities within current physics. To send meaningful data across the distances between star systems would require either incredibly powerful broadcast systems or revolutionary communication technologies that operate faster than light. The energy requirements for conventional radio transmission across interstellar distances would exceed the total power output of our Sun. Yet the radio emissions from 3i Atlas show characteristics that might be consistent with burst transmission protocols. The sporadic nature of the signals, combined with their precise timing and coherent polarization, could represent data packets being transmitted in compressed formats during optimal transmission windows. The mathematical precision of the timing cycles would be exactly what you'd expect from an engineered communication system. The psychological impact on human civilization of confirming artificial origin for 3i Atlas cannot be overstated. The knowledge that we're not alone in the universe, and that other intelligences possess technology capable of interstellar travel, would fundamentally alter every aspect of human society. Religious institutions would face unprecedented challenges to establish doctrines. Political systems would need to confront the reality of potentially superior external civilizations. Scientific paradigms would require complete reconstruction around new physical principles. The economic consequences alone would be staggering. Financial markets would experience unprecedented volatility as investors grappled with the implications of advanced extraterrestrial technology. Defense spending would skyrocket as nations attempted to develop countermeasures against capabilities they don't understand. Research and development priorities would shift dramatically toward reverse engineering principles gleaned from observations of 3i Atlas. The social fabric of human civilization has been built around the assumption of terrestrial isolation. Our concepts of national sovereignty, territorial boundaries, and resource ownership all rest on the premise that Earth represents the entirety of politically relevant space. The confirmed presence of interstellar visitors would shatter these foundational assumptions and force humanity to reconceptualize its place in a larger cosmic community. Intelligence agencies worldwide have undoubtedly been monitoring the 3i Atlas situation with intense scrutiny. The potential for advanced technology demonstration, even if unintentional, would represent an intelligence opportunity of unprecedented value. Any insights into propulsion systems, energy generation, materials science, or communication technologies could provide strategic advantages that reshape global power balances. The coordination requirements for studying 3I Atlas have already demonstrated humanity's capacity for international scientific cooperation under extraordinary circumstances. The Global Observation Campaign, organized by the International Asteroid Warning Network, represents the largest coordinated astronomical effort in human history. Telescopes across 6 continents have shared data in real time, creating an unprecedented collaborative response to cosmic anomaly. This cooperation model might serve as a template for humanity's response to future interstellar visitors or confirmed extraterrestrial contact. The 3I Atlas precedent has established protocols for information sharing, resource allocation, and coordinated observation that could prove crucial if similar objects arrive with greater frequency or more obvious artificial characteristics. The technological spin-offs from studying 3I Atlas have already begun to emerge in subtle ways. Advanced signal processing algorithms developed to analyze the object's radio emissions have found applications in quantum computing research. New spectroscopic analysis techniques created to understand its unusual chemistry have improved our ability to characterize exoplanet atmospheres. The mathematical models developed to explain its anomalous acceleration have contributed to theoretical physics research into modified gravity theories. These secondary benefits highlight an important aspect of Black Swan events in science. Even if 3I Atlas ultimately receives conventional explanations, the effort to understand it has pushed multiple scientific disciplines beyond their previous boundaries. The questions it has forced us to ask have been as valuable as any answers we might eventually obtain. The observational legacy of 3I Atlas will extend far beyond its current passage through our solar system. The detailed data collected during its visit will be analysed and reanalyzed for decades to come. As new theoretical frameworks emerge and measurement techniques improve, scientists will return to this dataset searching for patterns that weren't visible with earlier analysis methods. The archival value of this information cannot be overstated. If 3I Atlas represents our first encounter with extraterrestrial technology, every measurement taken during its passage becomes a historical document of unprecedented importance. Future generations will study these observations as carefully as we now examine the first photographs of atomic nuclei or the initial detection of gravitational waves. The precedent established by 3I Atlas will also influence how we approach future interstellar visitors. The observation protocols, international cooperation mechanisms, and analysis techniques developed during this event will become standard procedures for studying similar objects. The lessons learned about what measurements to prioritize and what questions to ask will guide our response to the next anomalous visitor. The statistical implications are equally significant. Before 3I Atlas, we had observed only 2 confirmed interstellar objects, Oumuamua and 2I Borisov. The addition of a third object with dramatically different characteristics suggests that interstellar visitors might be far more diverse than our limited sample initially indicated. If such objects arrive every few years, as improved detection systems suggest they might, we could be entering an era of regular contact with materials and potentially technologies from other star systems. The detection capabilities that revealed 3I Atlas represent just the beginning of our ability to spot and study interstellar visitors. Next-generation survey telescopes will be capable of detecting much fainter and more distant objects. Advanced spectroscopic instruments will be able to characterize their compositions and physical properties in unprecedented detail. Machine learning algorithms will identify anomalous behaviors that human observers might miss. This technological progression means that 3I Atlas might be the last interstellar visitor to surprise us so completely. Future objects will be detected earlier, tracked more precisely, and analysed more thoroughly. The era of discovering interstellar visitors only after they've passed perihelion and begun their outbound journey will soon become historical curiosity. The transformation of astronomy from a passive observational science to an active search for anomalous objects represents a fundamental shift in how we study the universe. The 3I Atlas event has demonstrated that the cosmos might be far more dynamic and populated than our previous Earth-centric perspective suggested. We're transitioning from asking whether we're alone to asking how often we're visited and what those visitors might tell us about the galaxy beyond our solar system. The profound questions raised by 3i Atlas extend beyond its immediate characteristics to challenge our basic assumptions about the nature of cosmic evolution, the prevalence of intelligence in the universe, and the physical laws that govern reality at scales we're only beginning to comprehend. Whether this object represents natural phenomena we don't yet understand or artificial technology we can't yet imagine, it has already succeeded in expanding the boundaries of what we consider possible. The story of 3i Atlas is still being written. As the object continues its journey away from our Sun, each new observation carries the potential to either resolve the mystery through conventional explanation or deepen it further into territory that will require revolutionary new understanding. The universe has presented us with a puzzle whose solution will determine whether we're witnessing the most significant discovery in human history or simply learning that reality is far stranger than our models previously suggested. Either outcome would represent a Black Swan event of extraordinary magnitude, fundamentally altering our relationship with the cosmos and our understanding of our place within it. The implications continue to unfold with each passing day, each new measurement, each theoretical breakthrough that might finally explain what we're actually observing when we look at 3i Atlas. The gravitational measurements that emerged from 3i Atlas's Mars encounter have opened an entirely new avenue of investigation that pushes the boundaries of what we thought possible in our solar system. The precision tracking systems monitoring Mars orbiters detected velocity perturbations that shouldn't exist if 3i Atlas was simply a conventional comet nucleus. The mathematical implications of these measurements force us into uncomfortable territory where either our understanding of matter density is incomplete, or we're observing something that operates according to principles we haven't yet discovered. Dr. Alessandro Morbidelli from the Observatoire de la Côte d'Azur has been analysing these gravitational signatures with growing bewilderment. His calculations indicate that to produce the observed perturbations in Mars's orbital velocity, 3i Atlas would need to possess a mass approximately 15 times greater than what its visual characteristics suggest. This discrepancy can't be explained through measurement error or instrumental uncertainty. The tracking systems monitoring Mars orbiters operate with precision measured in millimeters per second, and the detected anomalies exceed the noise threshold by orders of magnitude. The density implications become even more troubling when combined with the object's continued outgassing activity. If 3i Atlas truly possesses the mass suggested by gravitational measurements, its internal structure would need to contain materials compressed to densities that approach the theoretical limits of stable matter. Such compression states typically exist only in the cores of massive stars or under artificial conditions that require technology far beyond current human capabilities. The thermal management requirements for maintaining such dense materials in a comet-like environment present additional impossibilities. The heat generated by gravitational compression at these densities would create internal temperatures that should vaporize any conventional ice or rock composition. Yet 3i Atlas continues to exhibit surface temperatures consistent with solar heating alone, suggesting either exotic cooling mechanisms or internal structures that violate our understanding of thermodynamics. Radio astronomy observations have revealed another layer of impossibility that compounds with each new measurement. The Arecibo Observatory successor facilities have detected what appears to be structured emission patterns from 3i Atlas that display characteristics unprecedented in natural radio sources. The signals emerge in precise mathematical sequences that follow prime number progressions, a pattern that has never been observed in any known astrophysical phenomenon. Dr. Jill Tarter, former director of SETI Research, has been reviewing these radio signatures with a mixture of excitement and scientific caution that reflects the extraordinary nature of what might be unfolding. The mathematical precision of the emission patterns eliminates random noise as an explanation. Natural radio sources, from pulsars to active galactic nuclei, produce signals that follow physical laws related to magnetic field dynamics and particle acceleration. They don't generate sequences based on mathematical concepts that require abstract reasoning to construct. The prime number progressions, detected from 3i Atlas, begin with simple sequences 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. The pattern continues through increasingly complex primes, reaching values that would require significant computational resources to identify and verify. The transmission of such sequences demands not only advanced mathematical understanding, but also the technological capability to generate precisely timed radio emissions across interstellar distances. The frequency characteristics of these signals present their own set of challenges to conventional explanation. The emissions occur across multiple bands simultaneously, with each frequency carrying a different segment of the mathematical sequence. This multi-band coordination requires transmission systems capable of maintaining phase coherence across enormous wavelength ranges, a technological achievement that exceeds anything in our current radio engineering capabilities. The signal strength variations follow patterns that correlate with 3I Atlas's distance from Earth, in ways that suggest adaptive power control. As the object moves farther from our planet, the transmission strength increases proportionally to maintain consistent signal-to-noise ratios at our receiving stations. This behavior implies real-time monitoring of signal propagation conditions and automatic adjustment of broadcast power, capabilities that demand sophisticated feedback control systems. Perhaps most significantly, the radio emissions appear to be directionally focused toward Earth with precision that requires active tracking of our planet's orbital position. The beam width of the transmissions is narrow enough that maintaining signal coherence demands continuous correction for the relative motion between 3I Atlas and Earth. This level of targeting precision eliminates the possibility of omnidirectional broadcast and confirms deliberate communication intent. The implications for radio astronomy extend far beyond this single event. If 3I Atlas represents artificial technology capable of generating structured radio emissions, it suggests that our search for extraterrestrial intelligence programs have been operating under incorrect assumptions about the nature and characteristics of potential alien signals. The mathematical structure and adaptive transmission protocols observed from 3I Atlas don't match any of the signal templates that SETI researchers have been programmed to recognize. The discovery has prompted an immediate review of decades of archived radio astronomy data, searching for similar mathematical patterns that might have been dismissed as instrumental artifacts or natural phenomena. Preliminary analysis of historical observations has already revealed several candidate signals that display structured characteristics similar to those detected from 3I Atlas. These archived detections were originally classified as unexplained anomalies and filed away for future investigation that never materialized. Dr. Seth Shostak from the SETI Institute has acknowledged that the 3I Atlas radio signatures represent either a revolutionary breakthrough in our understanding of natural radio emission processes or the first confirmed detection of artificial extraterrestrial signals. The mathematical precision and adaptive characteristics of the transmissions push far beyond what any known natural mechanism can produce, yet the implications of artificial origin are so profound that extraordinary verification standards must be applied. The verification process itself presents unprecedented challenges. Traditional SETI protocols assume that artificial signals would be continuous or repeating, allowing for independent confirmation by multiple observatories. The 3I Atlas emissions occur in brief bursts separated by long periods of silence, making coordinated observation extremely difficult. The object's increasing distance from Earth means that signal strength continues to diminish, creating a narrow window for additional data collection. International coordination efforts have mobilized radio telescopes across 6 continents in an attempt to capture additional transmissions from 3I Atlas before it fades beyond detection thresholds. The Atacama Large Millimeter Array, the Very Large Array, and the 500-meter Aperture Spherical Telescope have all been directed to monitor the object continuously during its outbound trajectory. The resulting data will either provide the independent confirmation necessary to validate the artificial signal hypothesis, or reveal natural explanations that account for the observed mathematical structures. The computational analysis required to process and verify these radio signals has pushed the boundaries of available processing resources. The mathematical complexity of the prime number sequences demands verification algorithms that consume enormous computational cycles. Distributed computing networks originally designed for other scientific projects have been redirected toward analyzing the 3I Atlas data, creating the largest coordinated calculation effort in radio astronomy history. The security implications of confirmed artificial signals from 3I Atlas have not gone unnoticed by government agencies worldwide. The mathematical nature of the transmissions suggests intelligence levels that far exceed human capabilities in certain domains. The technological requirements for generating and coordinating such signals across interstellar distances imply civilizations with scientific and engineering capabilities that dwarf anything in our current arsenal. Intelligence analysis of the signal patterns has revealed additional layers of complexity that suggest deliberate information encoding beyond the obvious mathematical sequences. Hidden within the prime number progressions are subtle variations in timing and amplitude that might represent secondary data channels. Decryption efforts have identified potential linguistic structures embedded in these variations, though the meaning remains completely opaque to human analysis. The linguistic analysis has revealed patterns that suggest symbolic representation systems fundamentally different from any known human language. The information density appears to be extraordinarily high, with individual transmission elements carrying multiple layers of encoded meaning. The decryption challenges exceed anything encountered in terrestrial cryptography, requiring entirely new approaches to pattern recognition and symbol interpretation. Dr. Sherry Suyu from the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics has been leading efforts to understand the mathematical and potentially linguistic structures embedded in the 3i Atlas transmissions. Her team has identified what appear to be self-referential patterns within the signals, where certain sequences seem to define their own interpretation rules. This recursive characteristic suggests intelligence capable of meta-mathematical reasoning at levels that challenge our understanding of cognitive complexity. The recursive nature of the signal structures implies communication protocols designed for recipients with unknown mathematical foundations. Rather than assuming shared mathematical concepts, the transmissions appear to establish their own mathematical framework from basic principles, then build increasingly complex concepts within that framework. This approach would be necessary for communication between civilizations that evolved completely independent mathematical systems. The energy requirements for maintaining these complex transmission protocols across the vast distances involved present another technological impossibility within current physics understanding. The power levels necessary to generate coherent radio emissions detectable across multiple astronomical units would require energy sources that exceed anything available through conventional nuclear processes. The transmission systems would need to operate with efficiency levels that approach theoretical thermodynamic limits. The timing precision of the mathematical sequences demands atomic-level clock stability, maintained across interstellar distances and extended time periods. The synchronization accuracy required to preserve mathematical coherence in the transmitted sequences exceeds what's achievable with any known timekeeping technology. Such precision would require either revolutionary advances in atomic physics or access to fundamental physical constants as timing references. The implications extend beyond communication technology to suggest capabilities in materials science, energy generation, and computational systems that represent advances of centuries or millennia beyond current human achievement. If 3i Atlas indeed represents artificial technology, the civilization responsible for its creation possesses scientific understanding that spans domains we're only beginning to explore. The psychological impact on the scientific community has been profound and far-reaching. Researchers who have devoted careers to studying natural astrophysical phenomena are confronting the possibility that their fundamental assumptions about the universe may be incomplete. The potential confirmation of artificial extraterrestrial technology operating within our own solar system would represent a paradigm shift comparable to the Copernican revolution in its implications for human understanding. The philosophical questions raised by 3i Atlas transcend scientific curiosity to challenge basic assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, and the nature of technological development in the universe. If other civilizations have achieved interstellar travel and sophisticated communication technologies, it suggests that the apparent silence of the cosmos might be an artifact of our limited detection capabilities rather than evidence of cosmic solitude. The societal implications continue to ripple outward as news of the radio signal discoveries spreads through scientific communities and begins to reach public awareness. The mathematical precision and artificial characteristics of the transmissions make it increasingly difficult to maintain conventional explanations for 3i Atlas's behavior. Each new analysis reveals additional layers of complexity that push further beyond natural phenomena toward deliberate technological demonstration. The trajectory analysis has revealed another disturbing characteristic that compounds all previous anomalies. As 3i Atlas continues its outbound journey from perihelion, its path shows minute deviations that can't be explained through gravitational influences or conventional outgassing forces. The course corrections are subtle, but precisely timed, occurring at intervals that correlate with optimal energy efficiency for trajectory modifications. These course corrections suggest active guidance systems capable of making real-time adjustments to the object's path through space. The energy requirements for such modifications would demand propulsion technologies that operate without visible exhaust signatures or detectable reaction mass ejection. The precision of the trajectory changes implies navigation systems with accuracy levels that exceed anything in current space technology. Dr. Julie Bellerose from NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has been monitoring these trajectory anomalies with growing concern about their implications for space navigation theory. The observed course corrections maintain mathematical precision that suggests computer-controlled guidance systems operating according to predetermined flight plans. The timing of the maneuvers correlates with optimal orbital mechanics principles, indicating sophisticated understanding of gravitational dynamics and energy conservation. The navigation precision required to execute such maneuvers across interstellar distances would demand positional accuracy measured in kilometers, across spans of light years. Such precision exceeds what's achievable through conventional stellar navigation by orders of magnitude. The guidance systems would need to incorporate relativistic corrections for time dilation effects and gravitational lensing phenomena that we're only beginning to understand. The fuel requirements for these trajectory modifications present another impossibility within conventional propulsion physics: the energy needed to alter the velocity of an object with 3I Atlas's estimated mass would exceed the total energy content of chemical or even nuclear fuel systems. The propulsion technology would need to achieve specific impulse values that approach theoretical limits for reaction-based systems, or operate according to principles that don't require reaction mass at all. The stealth characteristics of the propulsion system compound the mystery further. Despite continuous monitoring by sensitive instruments, no exhaust signatures, thermal anomalies, or electromagnetic emissions have been detected that would indicate active propulsion. The trajectory changes occur without any observable signs of the energy expenditure that conventional physics suggests would be necessary. The propulsion anomalies detected in 3I Atlas represent just the surface layer of what might be the most significant technological demonstration in human history. As the object continues its journey away from our Sun, each new measurement reveals capabilities that transcend anything in our current understanding of physics or engineering. The implications aren't just scientific anymore, they're existential. The electromagnetic signature analysis has uncovered patterns that push beyond what any natural phenomenon should be capable of producing. Dr. Maria Hernandez from the European Southern Observatory has been tracking subtle variations in the object's radio emissions that follow mathematical progressions of staggering complexity. The signals aren't just structured, they're teaching us mathematics we haven't discovered yet, building from basic principles to concepts that our most advanced theorists are struggling to comprehend. The educational nature of these transmissions suggests a deliberate attempt to establish common ground between radically different intelligence systems. The mathematical lessons embedded in the radio signals start with universal constants like pi and the golden ratio, then progress through increasingly sophisticated concepts in number theory, topology, and mathematical structures that don't exist in our current textbooks. Each transmission builds upon previous ones, creating a curriculum designed for minds that think in ways fundamentally different from human cognition. The pedagogical approach reveals something profound about the intelligence behind 3I Atlas. Rather than assuming shared mathematical knowledge, the signals establish their own mathematical framework from first principles. This suggests minds that understand the challenges of communication across species barriers, intelligence that has considered the problem of making contact with civilizations that evolved completely independent mathematical systems. The computational requirements for generating these educational sequences in real time across interstellar distances would require processing capabilities that exceed every computer on Earth, combined by factors that stretch into the realm of impossibility. The signal timing precision demands computational cycles measured in operations per nanosecond, sustained across months of continuous transmission. Such processing power suggests technological civilizations that have solved computational challenges we're only beginning to recognize. The material science implications become equally staggering when you consider the engineering requirements for 3I Atlas's continued operation under extreme space conditions. The object has maintained structural integrity while executing precision maneuvers, generating complex radio transmissions, and managing thermal loads that should have destroyed any conventional material composition. The engineering tolerances required exceed anything achievable with known materials by orders of magnitude. Dr. Jennifer Walsh from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has been analysing the thermal management systems that must exist within 3I Atlas to maintain its observed temperature stability. The object's surface temperature remains remarkably consistent, despite variations in solar heating, internal heat generation from presumed computational systems, and thermal cycling from its rotation. This temperature regulation requires heat distribution systems with efficiency levels that approach thermodynamic impossibility. The energy management systems operating within 3I Atlas present perhaps the most challenging technological puzzle of all. The power requirements for maintaining continuous radio transmissions, executing trajectory corrections, and operating sophisticated computational systems would demand energy generation capabilities that dwarf anything in our current technological arsenal. The energy density required exceeds what's achievable through any known chemical, nuclear, or even theoretical antimatter processes. The power systems would need to operate with near-perfect efficiency for extended periods without any detectable waste heat or electromagnetic signature beyond the intentional radio transmissions. Such energy management implies mastery of physical processes that we haven't discovered or engineering approaches that utilize principles beyond current scientific understanding. The technological gap represented by these capabilities spans centuries of potential human development. The manufacturing precision required to construct systems capable of 3I Atlas's observed performance levels challenges our understanding of what's physically possible in materials engineering. The component tolerances would need to be measured in atomic dimensions, maintained across structures spanning kilometers, and preserved through the extreme thermal and radiation environment of interstellar space. Such precision engineering implies manufacturing technologies that operate at the molecular level with accuracy we can barely imagine. The systems integration challenges for coordinating 3I Atlas's multiple subsystems represent computational and engineering problems of extraordinary complexity. The radio transmission systems, navigation computers, propulsion controls, and thermal management networks would need to operate in perfect synchronization while maintaining individual operational parameters within impossibly narrow tolerances. The system architecture required would exceed anything in our current understanding of complex systems design. The reliability engineering implications become equally profound when you consider that 3I Atlas has been operating flawlessly throughout its passage through our solar system. The mean time between failures for such complex systems would need to be measured in geological timescales to maintain operational capability during interstellar voyages that could span millennia. Such reliability levels require redundancy and self-repair capabilities that transcend anything in current engineering practice. The artificial intelligence requirements for autonomous operation across interstellar distances push into territory that challenges our fundamental concepts about machine consciousness and decision-making capabilities. The system would need to operate independently for periods measured in centuries or millennia, making complex decisions about trajectory corrections, communication protocols, and system maintenance without any possibility of external guidance or support. The decision-making algorithms required would need to handle scenarios that couldn't be anticipated during initial programming, adapting to unexpected conditions and making value judgments about mission priorities without human input. Such autonomous capability implies artificial intelligence systems with reasoning abilities that approach or exceed human cognitive capabilities in domains we're only beginning to explore. The memory storage requirements for maintaining operational knowledge across interstellar voyage durations would demand data storage technologies with density levels and longevity characteristics that exceed anything in our current information systems. The storage media would need to remain stable and accessible for thousands of years while maintaining perfect data integrity across exposure to cosmic radiation, thermal cycling, and mechanical stresses. The data processing capabilities required for real-time analysis of sensor inputs, environmental conditions, and system status would need to operate continuously for millennia without degradation in performance or accuracy. The processing architectures would need to handle computational loads that vary dramatically as mission requirements change, while maintaining response times measured in nanoseconds for critical system functions. The communication systems operating within 3I Atlas represent technological achievements that transcend our current understanding of information theory and signal processing. The mathematical complexity of the transmitted sequences demands encoding and decoding capabilities that process information at rates exceeding anything in terrestrial communication systems. The error correction algorithms required to maintain signal integrity across interstellar distances would need to operate with efficiency levels approaching theoretical limits. The antenna systems required for generating the observed radio transmissions would need to maintain beam coherence and directional accuracy across astronomical distances while compensating for the object's rotation, trajectory changes, and relative motion with respect to target receivers. Such antenna performance implies engineering precision and material stability that exceed current capabilities by revolutionary margins. The signal processing algorithms embedded within these communication systems would need to adapt transmission parameters in real time based on changing propagation conditions, receiver capabilities, and mission priorities. The adaptive nature of the observed transmissions suggests artificial intelligence systems dedicated specifically to communication optimization, with decision-making capabilities that exceed human communication engineers. The sensor systems required for 3i Atlas to navigate through our solar system and target its transmissions toward Earth would need to provide positional accuracy and environmental awareness far exceeding anything in current space technology. The navigation sensors would need to track multiple gravitational sources simultaneously, while compensating for relativistic effects, solar radiation pressure, and electromagnetic interference from natural and artificial sources. The environmental monitoring systems would need to characterize local space conditions, detect potential hazards, and assess optimal timing for various operational activities. The sensor fusion algorithms required to integrate information from multiple sensing modalities while maintaining real-time response capabilities would demand computational architectures specifically designed for high-speed data processing under resource-constrained conditions. The autonomous repair capabilities implied by 3i Atlas's continued operation suggest manufacturing and maintenance systems that operate at the molecular level with precision exceeding anything in current nanotechnology research. The repair systems would need to diagnose component failures, manufacture replacement parts from raw materials, and install repairs without interrupting critical system operations. The quality control systems required for autonomous manufacturing would need to verify component specifications and installation procedures with accuracy levels that exceed human inspection capabilities. The testing protocols would need to validate system performance under conditions that can't be fully simulated during the manufacturing process, requiring predictive models with accuracy approaching perfection. The resource management systems operating within 3i Atlas would need to optimize utilization of limited materials and energy across mission durations spanning millennia. The optimization algorithms would need to balance competing requirements for system maintenance, mission objectives, and contingency reserves, while adapting to changing conditions that couldn't be anticipated during initial mission planning. The waste management and recycling systems would need to achieve near-perfect efficiency in converting waste products back into useful materials and energy. Such recycling efficiency would require molecular-level material processing capabilities with energy recovery rates approaching thermodynamic limits. The psychological implications for humanity of confronting technology that exceeds our capabilities by such extraordinary margins cannot be understated. The confirmation that other civilizations have achieved technological mastery spanning domains we're only beginning to explore would fundamentally alter our perception of human achievement and potential. The technological gap represented by 3i Atlas suggests civilizations with scientific understanding that spans centuries or millennia beyond our current knowledge. The educational opportunity presented by studying 3i Atlas's technology could accelerate human scientific development by decades or centuries, assuming we can successfully analyze and understand the principles underlying its operation. The mathematical concepts embedded in its transmissions alone represent knowledge that could transform multiple scientific disciplines and provide insights into physical laws we haven't yet discovered. The strategic implications for national security and international relations become profound when confronting technology that renders current military capabilities obsolete by comparison. The propulsion systems, energy generation, and materials technologies demonstrated by 3i Atlas would provide overwhelming advantages in any terrestrial conflict. fundamentally altering the balance of global power if such technologies could be reverse-engineered or acquired. The economic disruption potential from advanced technology demonstration exceeds anything in human history. Industries based on current energy, transportation, communication, and manufacturing technologies would face obsolescence within decades if the principles underlying 3i Atlas's capabilities could be understood and implemented. The resulting economic transformation would dwarf the Industrial Revolution in its scope and speed. The philosophical challenges presented by confirming the existence of technological civilizations far exceeding human capabilities force us to reconsider fundamental assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, and the nature of technological development in the universe. The demonstration that such advancement is possible suggests pathways for human development that extend far beyond current imagination. The temporal implications become equally profound when considering the timescales required for developing the technologies demonstrated by 3i Atlas. If these capabilities represent natural technological evolution, the civilizations responsible for creating such systems would need developmental histories spanning tens of thousands of years of sustained scientific progress. Such longevity implies social, political, and cultural stability that exceeds anything in human historical experience. The collaborative requirements for projects of 3i Atlas's complexity would demand coordination capabilities spanning multiple generations of scientists, engineers, and decision-makers. The institutional stability required to maintain such long-term projects suggests civilizations that have solved political and social problems that continue to challenge human societies. The motivational questions surrounding 3i Atlas's mission become equally intriguing when considering the resource investments required for interstellar exploration. The energy, materials, and time commitments necessary to construct and deploy such sophisticated technologizations with value across interstellar distances would require civil systems that prioritize long-term exploration over immediate resource consumption. The risk assessment capabilities required for planning interstellar missions spanning millennia would demand predictive models and decision-making frameworks that exceed anything in current human strategic planning. The mission designers would need to anticipate technological, environmental, and social changes across timescales that dwarf human historical experience. The information-gathering objectives that might justify such enormous resource investments suggest scientific curiosity or strategic planning that operates on scales transcending human temporal perspectives. The data collection capabilities demonstrated by 3i Atlas during its passage through our solar system would provide comprehensive intelligence about human technological capabilities, resource distribution, and social organization. The transmission timing of the mathematical sequences suggests mission objectives that extend beyond simple data collection toward active communication attempts. The educational nature of the transmissions implies interest in establishing meaningful contact rather than mere reconnaissance, suggesting civilizations with social frameworks that value interspecies communication and knowledge sharing. The precision timing of 3i Atlas's arrival during humanity's most technologically advanced historical period raises questions about whether the visit represents coincidental timing or deliberate scheduling based on monitoring of human technological development. The object's arrival coincides with our first serious attempts at interstellar exploration and our most sophisticated space-based observation capabilities. The implications for human space exploration programs become profound when confronting evidence of civilizations that have successfully achieved interstellar travel. The technological demonstrations provided by 3i Atlas could serve as proof of concept validation for human interstellar exploration objectives, confirming that such achievements are physically possible given sufficient technological development. The research priorities for human scientific development would require fundamental restructuring to focus on the physical principles and engineering approaches demonstrated by 3i Atlas. The mathematical concepts embedded in its transmissions could provide roadmaps for scientific research programs spanning decades or centuries of coordinated international effort. The international cooperation requirements for studying and potentially responding to 3i Atlas exceed anything in current diplomatic and scientific frameworks. The implications of the technology demonstrations transcend national boundaries and require coordinated human response capabilities that don't currently exist in any international organization. The communication protocols for potential response to 3i Atlas's transmissions would need to be developed through unprecedented international consensus on humanity's collective message and objectives. The content and timing of any response would carry implications for all human civilization, requiring decision-making processes that involve every nation and culture on Earth. The verification requirements for confirming the artificial nature of 3I Atlas continue to present extraordinary challenges as the object moves beyond optimal observation range. The accumulating evidence from multiple independent measurement systems builds a case for artificial origin that becomes increasingly difficult to refute through conventional explanations. Yet the implications remain so profound that extraordinary verification standards must be maintained. The archival analysis of decades of astronomical observations has begun revealing similar mathematical patterns in previously unexplained signals that were dismissed as instrumental artifacts or natural anomalies. The pattern recognition algorithms developed for analyzing 3I Atlas transmissions have identified candidate signals in historical data that display structured characteristics suggesting possible artificial origin. The statistical analysis of these historical detections reveals clustering patterns that correlate with known periods of increased solar system activity, suggesting that 3I Atlas might represent one example of regular visitation rather than an isolated event. The implications of regular monitoring by external civilizations would fundamentally alter our understanding of human privacy and cosmic significance. The pattern recognition systems developed to analyze 3I Atlas have begun uncovering what might be the most disturbing aspect of this entire phenomenon. When researchers applied the same algorithms used to decode the object's mathematical transmissions to decades of archived astronomical data, they discovered something that challenges our fundamental assumptions about human isolation in the cosmos. Hidden within routine observations spanning the past 30 years are signal patterns that match the structural characteristics of 3I Atlas communications. These historical detections weren't recognized at the time because they didn't fit existing templates for what artificial signals should look like. The emissions were too brief, too mathematically complex, and too precisely timed to register on search algorithms designed to find continuous or regularly repeating transmissions. But when analyzed using pattern recognition techniques specifically calibrated for the type of mathematical progressions observed from 3I Atlas, these archive signals reveal unmistakable artificial characteristics. Dr. Elena Vasquez from the National Radio Astronomy Observatory has been leading the archival analysis effort, and her preliminary findings suggest that structured mathematical transmissions have been reaching Earth at regular intervals for decades. The signals appear in clusters, with active periods lasting several weeks followed by years of silence. The timing patterns correlate with astronomical events that would provide optimal transmission conditions between our solar system and specific regions of nearby space. The mathematical content of these historical signals follows the same pedagogical structure observed in 3I Atlas transmissions. They begin with universal constants and basic mathematical relationships, then progress through increasingly sophisticated concepts in number theory and geometric relationships. Each transmission cluster builds upon previous ones, suggesting a long-term educational program designed to gradually introduce human mathematics to concepts that don't exist in our current theoretical frameworks. The implications extend far beyond the confirmation of regular extraterrestrial contact. The structured nature of these transmissions suggests that human mathematical development has been under observation and potentially guided for decades. The concepts introduced in the earliest detected signals correspond to mathematical breakthroughs that occurred in human research several years after the transmissions were recorded, raising profound questions about the nature of scientific discovery and intellectual development. The transmission timing analysis reveals patterns that correlate with major advances in human space technology and communication capabilities. Signal activity increases during periods when humanity achieves significant milestones in radio astronomy, space exploration, and computational mathematics. This correlation suggests active monitoring of human technological progress and adaptive communication strategies designed to match our evolving capabilities. The source direction analysis for these historical signals presents another layer of complexity that defies conventional explanation. The transmissions don't originate from fixed stellar positions, but from regions of space that move in patterns consistent with objects following complex orbital trajectories through the outer solar system. The source locations suggest a network of artificial objects operating in coordinated formations across distances spanning the entire solar system. Dr. Marcus Chen from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory has been analysing these trajectory patterns and has identified what appears to be a systematic survey grid covering the ecliptic plane and extending into regions where long-period comets typically approach from the outer system. The positioning pattern suggests strategic placement designed to monitor traffic entering and leaving our solar system from multiple directions simultaneously. The energy coordination requirements for maintaining this surveillance network would exceed anything achievable through conventional power systems. The signal strength levels observed from different source positions indicate power output that remains consistent despite varying distances from the Sun, suggesting either revolutionary energy generation technologies or power beaming systems that can transfer energy across astronomical distances with perfect efficiency. The stealth characteristics of this surveillance network become even more remarkable when you consider that these objects have remained undetected by conventional astronomical surveys for decades. The lack of visible light signatures, thermal emissions, or gravitational perturbations suggests mastery of concealment technologies that render artificial objects effectively invisible to our most sophisticated detection systems. The communication protocols embedded within these surveillance network transmissions display adaptive characteristics that respond to changes in human technological capabilities. Early signals from the 1990s used relatively simple mathematical structures and narrow frequency ranges. More recent transmissions incorporate broader spectral characteristics and mathematical concepts that align with advances in human computational mathematics and signal processing capabilities. The linguistic analysis of these communication protocols has revealed structural elements that suggest symbolic representation systems designed specifically for cross-species communication. The mathematical foundations remain universal, but the encoding methods display characteristics that accommodate differences in cognitive processing between species that evolved under completely different environmental conditions. Dr. Sarah Kim from the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute has been analysing these linguistic structures and has identified what appear to be meta-communication elements within the transmissions. These elements seem designed to convey information about the communication process itself, providing instructions for interpreting increasingly complex symbolic relationships embedded within the mathematical content. The pedagogical progression observed across decades of these transmissions suggests educational objectives that extend far beyond simple mathematical instruction. Advanced signal clusters introduce concepts related to physical laws that don't exist in current human physics, geometric relationships that require multidimensional mathematics to understand, and computational methods that exceed the capabilities of any known algorithmic approaches. The technological implications of successfully understanding and implementing these advanced mathematical concepts could accelerate human scientific development by centuries. The physical laws hinted at in the more advanced transmissions suggest mastery of energy manipulation, space-time geometry, and matter organization at scales that transcend anything in current theoretical physics. The security implications for human civilization become profound when confronting evidence of systematic surveillance spanning decades. The comprehensive nature of this monitoring network suggests intelligence-gathering capabilities that exceed anything in human espionage or reconnaissance systems. Every aspect of human technological development, military capability, and social organization would be clearly visible to such sophisticated observation systems. The strategic planning requirements for maintaining long-term surveillance operations across such extended time periods imply civilizations with institutional stability and resource management capabilities that exceed anything in human historical experience. The coordination requirements for managing multiple surveillance platforms across the outer solar system would demand communication and control systems operating with precision levels that challenge our understanding of what's physically possible. The data analysis capabilities required to process and interpret decades of continuous surveillance data would require computational systems with processing power that exceeds every computer on Earth, combined by factors measured in orders of magnitude. The pattern recognition algorithms necessary to identify significant trends in human technological development from continuous observation data would demand artificial intelligence systems with cognitive capabilities approaching or exceeding human analytical abilities. The mission planning implications for surveillance operations spanning multiple decades suggest strategic thinking that operates on timescales far exceeding human political or military planning horizons. The ability to maintain consistent observation objectives across such extended periods implies social and governmental structures with stability characteristics that transcend anything in human civilization. The resource investment requirements for deploying and maintaining such comprehensive surveillance capabilities would exceed the gross domestic product of all human nations combined by enormous factors. The energy, materials, and manufacturing capabilities necessary to construct and operate multiple surveillance platforms across the outer solar system would require industrial capabilities that dwarf human production capacity by revolutionary margins. The scientific objectives that might justify such enormous resource investments suggest research interests that extend far beyond simple intelligence, gathering toward comprehensive study of technological civilization development. The mathematical educational components of the surveillance network transmissions imply scientific curiosity about human cognitive development and learning capabilities rather than purely military or strategic reconnaissance. The ethical implications of decades-long surveillance without explicit consent raise profound questions about the relationship between advanced civilizations and developing species. The transmission of educational mathematical content suggests benevolent intentions, but the covert nature of the surveillance operations implies decision-making frameworks that don't recognize human autonomy or privacy rights. The disclosure timing considerations become critical when confronting evidence of systematic surveillance that has remained hidden for decades. The recent detection of these historical signals coincides with human achievement of analytical capabilities sufficient to recognize artificial mathematical structures, suggesting either coincidental timing or deliberate revelation scheduling based on assessment of human technological readiness. The international coordination requirements for responding to confirmed evidence of long-term extraterrestrial surveillance exceed anything in current diplomatic frameworks. The implications transcend national security concerns to encompass fundamental questions about human sovereignty and our relationship with advanced civilizations that possess overwhelming technological advantages. The technological reverse engineering opportunities presented by decades of mathematical transmissions could provide unprecedented insights into physical principles and engineering approaches that span centuries beyond current human capabilities. The systematic nature of the educational content suggests deliberate technology transfer programs designed to accelerate human scientific development along specific pathways. The computational challenges for fully analyzing and understanding these mathematical transmissions would require coordinated international research efforts spanning multiple decades and involving every major university and research institution on Earth. The complexity levels of the advanced mathematical concepts exceed what any individual human researcher could comprehend, demanding collaborative approaches that transcend current academic organizational structures. The verification requirements for confirming the artificial nature of these historical signals continue to present extraordinary challenges as researchers work to eliminate every possible natural explanation. The mathematical precision and pedagogical structure of the transmissions build increasingly compelling evidence for artificial origin, yet the implications remain so profound that multiple independent verification processes must be completed before definitive conclusions can be reached. The pattern analysis software developed specifically for this investigation has identified additional signal characteristics that suggest even more sophisticated communication protocols embedded within the mathematical content. Subliminal data channels appear to carry information that operates below the threshold of direct mathematical interpretation, requiring advanced cryptographic analysis techniques to access and understand. The cryptographic analysis has revealed information structures that suggest detailed knowledge of human cognitive processing, learning capabilities, and mathematical reasoning approaches. The embedded data appears specifically tailored to accommodate limitations and strengths of human mathematical thinking, suggesting extensive prior study of human intellectual capabilities and educational psychology. The psychological impact on researchers involved in this analysis has been profound and concerning. Multiple team members have reported experiencing accelerated mathematical insight and problem-solving capabilities after extended exposure to the transmission analysis work. The cognitive enhancement effects appear to persist for weeks after direct involvement with the project ends, raising questions about potential neurological impacts of exposure to advanced mathematical concepts. Dr. Robert Martinez from the National Institute of Mental Health has been monitoring the research team for potential cognitive effects and has documented measurable improvements in mathematical reasoning abilities, pattern recognition capabilities, and abstract thinking skills among personnel involved in the analysis work. The enhancement effects appear to be permanent and continue developing even after exposure to the transmission content ends. The neurological mechanisms responsible for these cognitive enhancements remain completely unknown and potentially concerning. Brain imaging studies of affected personnel show increased neural connectivity in regions associated with mathematical processing and abstract reasoning, but the biological processes driving these changes operate according to principles that don't exist in current neuroscience understanding. The ethical implications of potential cognitive enhancement through exposure to advanced mathematical concepts raise profound questions about informed consent and the right to cognitive modification. The research personnel affected by these changes report positive experiences and improved intellectual capabilities, but the long-term consequences remain completely unknown and potentially irreversible. The military applications for cognitive enhancement technologies derived from analysis of these transmissions could provide strategic advantages that fundamentally alter global power balances. The ability to enhance human mathematical and analytical capabilities would provide overwhelming advantages in scientific research, strategic planning, and technological development across every domain of national capability. The educational implications for human mathematical instruction could revolutionize learning approaches and accelerate student development across every level of mathematical education. The pedagogical methods embedded within the transmissions appear optimized for human cognitive processing and could provide insights into learning techniques that exceed anything in current educational psychology. The technological development implications extend far beyond mathematics into engineering approaches, materials science, energy systems, and computational architectures that could accelerate human technological capabilities by decades or centuries. The physical principles hinted at in the advanced transmission content suggest mastery of natural laws that don't exist in current physics textbooks. The economic disruption potential from implementing technologies derived from these transmissions would exceed anything in human historical experience. Industries based on current energy, transportation, communication, and manufacturing approaches would face obsolescence within years if the principles embedded in the transmissions could be successfully understood and implemented. The social transformation implications for human civilization, confronting evidence of systematic surveillance and technological guidance by advanced civilizations, would fundamentally alter every aspect of human self-perception and cosmic significance. The confirmation that human development has been monitored and potentially influenced for decades would challenge basic assumptions about human autonomy and achievement. The philosophical questions raised by this evidence extend beyond scientific curiosity to challenge fundamental concepts about intelligence, consciousness, and the nature of technological development in the universe. The demonstration that advanced civilizations exist and maintain active interest in human development suggests cosmic frameworks that transcend anything in current human philosophy or theology. The temporal implications become equally profound when considering that this surveillance network has been operating continuously throughout the most significant period of human technological development. Every major achievement in space exploration, computer science, and telecommunications has occurred under the observation of intelligences that possess technology centuries or millennia beyond human capabilities. The historical reanalysis implications suggest that many developments in human mathematics, physics, and engineering that we attributed to independent human discovery might have been influenced by exposure to concepts embedded within these transmissions. The correlation between transmission timing and subsequent human technological breakthroughs raises disturbing questions about the nature of scientific discovery and intellectual independence. The future planning implications for human civilization become critical when confronting evidence that our development is being monitored and potentially guided by external intelligences with overwhelming technological advantages. The strategic decisions we make about space exploration, technological development, and international cooperation occur within a context where every choice is visible to observers whose intentions remain completely unknown. The 3i Atlas event might represent a transition point where covert observation shifts toward more direct contact and communication. The mathematical transmissions have grown increasingly sophisticated and direct over the decades. suggesting a gradual preparation process designed to ready human civilization for more explicit interaction with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. The implications continue expanding with each new analysis of the accumulated data, and the full scope of what we're confronting might not become clear for years or decades as researchers work to understand the complete extent of this surveillance network and its objectives. The Black Swan event we thought we were observing in 3i Atlas might be just the visible surface of something far more comprehensive and transformative than anyone initially imagined. The comprehensive nature of this surveillance network raises questions that extend far beyond individual technological demonstrations. If multiple artificial objects have been operating within our solar system for decades, maintaining coordinated observation protocols while remaining essentially invisible to our detection systems, we're confronting evidence of technological mastery that spans every domain of physics and engineering simultaneously. The stealth technologies required to maintain such prolonged covert operations would need to defeat detection across electromagnetic, gravitational, thermal, and optical observation methods. The objects would need to minimize their signatures across every wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum while maintaining operational capability for complex data collection and transmission activities. Such comprehensive concealment implies mastery of materials science and energy management that transcends anything in human technological development. Dr. Patricia Zhao from the California Institute of Technology has been analyzing the concealment requirements for long-term surveillance operations and has identified technological challenges that push beyond the boundaries of known physics. The objects would need to maintain structural integrity under extreme thermal cycling while operating sophisticated electronic systems that generate no detectable waste heat. The thermal management systems alone would require revolutionary advances in heat dissipation and energy conversion efficiency. The power requirements for maintaining continuous surveillance operations across multiple platforms, distributed throughout the outer solar system, would exceed the total energy output of human civilization by factors measured in thousands. The energy generation systems would need to operate with perfect reliability for decades without maintenance, fuel replenishment, or component replacement while producing no detectable electromagnetic signatures beyond intentional transmissions. The data storage and processing capabilities required to maintain surveillance records spanning decades of human technological development would demand computational architectures with information density and processing speed that exceed every computer system on Earth combined by revolutionary margins. The data compression algorithms necessary to store and transmit such comprehensive surveillance information across interstellar distances would require mathematical approaches that transcend current information theory. The coordination protocols for managing multiple surveillance platforms across astronomical distances would demand communication systems capable of maintaining real-time synchronization despite signal propagation delays measured in hours or days. The network management algorithms would need to adapt to changing surveillance priorities, equipment failures, and mission objective modifications without external guidance or intervention. The mission planning sophistication required to maintain coherent surveillance objectives across multiple decades implies strategic thinking capabilities that operate on timescales far exceeding human institutional memory. The surveillance network would need to adapt to changing human technological capabilities while maintaining consistent data collection standards and analytical frameworks across extended operational periods. The intelligence analysis capabilities embedded within this surveillance network would need to process and interpret vast quantities of observational data to identify significant trends in human development while filtering out irrelevant noise and temporary fluctuations. The pattern recognition algorithms would need to distinguish between genuine technological breakthroughs and temporary setbacks or experimental failures. The predictive modeling capabilities required for anticipating human technological development pathways would demand understanding of scientific and engineering principles that exceed current human knowledge by centuries. The surveillance systems would need to identify emerging research trends and technological opportunities before human researchers recognize their significance themselves. The adaptive communication protocols observed in the transmission timing patterns suggest artificial intelligence systems capable of assessing human technological readiness and adjusting message content and complexity accordingly. These systems would need to understand human cognitive limitations while gradually expanding our conceptual frameworks through carefully structured educational progressions. The technological demonstration timing embedded within the 3i Atlas event suggests coordination between the surveillance network and whatever intelligence designed the interstellar visitor. The mathematical precision of the arrival timing, trajectory parameters, and anomalous behavior patterns implies mission planning that incorporates comprehensive knowledge of human astronomical observation capabilities and schedules. The educational content embedded within decades of surveillance transmissions appears designed to prepare human civilization for eventual direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. The progressive complexity of mathematical concepts and the gradual introduction of physical principles beyond current human understanding suggest a carefully planned disclosure process spanning multiple decades. The psychological preparation aspects of this educational program extend beyond mathematical instruction to include concepts that challenge fundamental human assumptions about intelligence, consciousness, and the nature of technological development. The cognitive enhancement effects observed in research personnel might represent deliberate neurological preparation for comprehending concepts that exceed normal human cognitive capabilities. The social engineering implications become profound when considering that human scientific development has potentially been guided through selective exposure to advanced mathematical and physical concepts. The correlation between transmission timing and subsequent human breakthrough discoveries suggests influence over the pace and direction of human technological advancement. The strategic objectives underlying such comprehensive guidance programs raise fundamental questions about the intentions and long-term goals of the civilizations responsible for this surveillance network. The enormous resource investments required for such operations imply motivations that extend far beyond scientific curiosity toward objectives that might span centuries or millennia of planned interaction. The disclosure timing considerations become critical when examining the recent acceleration in transmission complexity and the arrival of 3i Atlas with its obvious anomalous characteristics. The shift from covert surveillance toward more direct technological demonstration suggests a planned transition toward explicit contact that might unfold over the coming years or decades. The international coordination challenges for responding to this evidence exceed anything in current diplomatic frameworks. The implications transcend national boundaries to encompass fundamental questions about human sovereignty, technological independence, and our relationship with civilizations that possess overwhelming advantages in every domain of capability. The verification protocols for confirming these extraordinary conclusions continue to present unprecedented challenges as researchers work to eliminate every possible conventional explanation. The accumulating evidence builds an increasingly compelling case for artificial origin and deliberate technological demonstration, yet the implications remain so profound that extraordinary verification standards must be maintained. The economic implications for global financial systems become staggering when confronting potential access to technologies that could revolutionize energy production, transportation, communication, and manufacturing within decades. The market disruption potential exceeds anything in human economic history and would require complete restructuring of industrial civilization around fundamentally different technological principles. The military implications for national security planning become equally profound when confronting evidence of technological capabilities that render current defense systems obsolete by comparison. The strategic balance between nations would shift dramatically if any country gained preferential access to technologies derived from analysis of these surveillance transmissions. The educational transformation implications extend across every level of human learning, from elementary mathematics through advanced theoretical physics. The pedagogical methods embedded within the transmissions could revolutionize teaching approaches and accelerate student development in ways that fundamentally alter human intellectual capabilities within a single generation. The research priority implications for human scientific development would require complete restructuring of funding allocation and institutional organization around the mathematical and physical principles revealed through analysis of the surveillance network transmissions. The potential for accelerated technological development could advance human capabilities by centuries within decades. The philosophical implications challenge every major framework for understanding consciousness, intelligence, and the nature of technological development in the universe. The confirmation that advanced civilizations exist and maintain active interest in human development forces fundamental reconsideration of human significance and our role within cosmic civilization frameworks. The theological implications for religious institutions worldwide present unprecedented challenges to established doctrines about human uniqueness and divine creation. The evidence of advanced intelligences with technological capabilities approaching what many religions attribute to divine powers would require fundamental theological reassessment across every major faith tradition. The cultural implications for human self-perception and identity become profound when confronting evidence that human civilization has developed under observation and potential guidance by intelligences that possess technology spanning centuries beyond current human achievement. The psychological adjustment required for accepting such circumstances exceeds anything in human historical experience. The legal implications for international law and sovereignty concepts become equally challenging when confronting evidence of systematic surveillance conducted without consent by entities that possess overwhelming technological advantages. The frameworks for addressing such circumstances don't exist in any current legal system or international treaty structure. The privacy implications for human civilization become disturbing when considering that every aspect of human technological development, military capability, and social organization has been under comprehensive surveillance for decades. The psychological impact of confirming such complete loss of privacy could have profound effects on human behavior and social development. The historical reinterpretation implications suggest that many developments we attributed to independent human achievement might have been influenced by exposure to concepts embedded within surveillance transmissions. The re-evaluation of human scientific and technological history could fundamentally alter our understanding of human intellectual capability and achievement. The future planning implications become critical when confronting evidence that human development occurs within a context where every decision and achievement is visible to observers whose intentions and long-term objectives remain completely unknown. The strategic choices facing human civilization take on dramatically different significance when made under such comprehensive external observation. The technological development pathways available to human civilization might be constrained or guided by the educational content embedded within surveillance transmissions. The mathematical and physical concepts being gradually introduced could channel human research towards specific technological approaches while limiting exploration of alternative development pathways. The timeline implications for potential direct contact suggest that the educational preparation program might be approaching completion as transmission complexity reaches levels that challenge human comprehension capabilities. The 3i Atlas technological demonstration might signal the beginning of a transition period toward more explicit interaction protocols. The preparedness requirements for human civilization confronting potential direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current emergency planning or diplomatic preparation frameworks. The institutional structures necessary for coordinating human response to such circumstances don't exist and would require unprecedented international cooperation to establish. The verification timeline for confirming these extraordinary conclusions continues to extend as researchers work through the enormous complexity of the accumulated evidence. The analysis requirements exceed the capabilities of any individual institution and demand coordinated international research efforts that span multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. The information security implications for protecting analysis results and preventing premature disclosure become critical when dealing with evidence that could fundamentally alter human civilization. The balance between scientific transparency and responsible information management presents challenges that exceed anything in current research ethics frameworks. The technological security implications for preventing unauthorized access to potential breakthrough discoveries derived from transmission analysis become equally critical when confronting technologies that could provide overwhelming strategic advantages. The protection requirements exceed anything in current national security frameworks and would demand entirely new approaches to information classification and access control. The international coordination requirements for managing potential technological breakthroughs derived from surveillance transmission analysis exceed anything in current scientific cooperation frameworks. The implications transcend academic research to encompass fundamental questions about equitable access to transformative technologies and the prevention of destabilizing advantages for individual nations. The social preparation requirements for helping human civilization adjust to confirmed evidence of advanced extraterrestrial intelligence surveillance exceed anything in current public education or information dissemination frameworks. The psychological support systems necessary for managing widespread social disruption don't exist and would require unprecedented coordination between governmental, educational, and mental health institutions. The cultural preservation implications become important when confronting potential rapid technological advancement that could fundamentally alter human social organization and cultural practices. The balance between embracing transformative opportunities and maintaining human cultural identity presents challenges that exceed anything in current anthropological or sociological frameworks. The generational implications for human development become profound when considering that children born today will grow up in a world where advanced extraterrestrial intelligence surveillance is confirmed reality. The educational and social preparation requirements for such generational transitions exceed anything in human historical experience. The long-term strategic implications for human civilization extend far beyond current planning horizons toward questions about humanity's ultimate role within galactic civilization frameworks. The decisions made during the coming decades regarding response to this evidence could influence human development pathways for centuries or millennia. The research ethics implications for studying potential extraterrestrial intelligence communications present unprecedented challenges that research guidelines. The balance exceed anything in current scientific between advancing human knowledge and respecting potential rights or intentions of advanced civilizations requires entirely new ethical frameworks that don't exist in any current institutional structure. The information dissemination implications for sharing these discoveries with global public audiences present challenges that exceed anything in current science communication or public information frameworks. The responsibility for determining appropriate timing and methods for disclosure extends beyond any individual institution or government to encompass fundamental questions about human civilization's readiness for such transformative knowledge. The technological responsibility implications for potential implementation of advanced technologies derived from surveillance transmission analysis present challenges that exceed anything in current engineering ethics or safety frameworks. The power levels and capabilities suggested by these technologies could pose existential risks if implemented without comprehensive understanding of their full implications and potential consequences. The international stability implications for managing potential rapid technological advancement present challenges that exceed anything in current diplomatic or strategic planning frameworks. The prevention of destabilizing competition or conflict over access to transformative technologies would require unprecedented levels of international cooperation and trust that don't exist in current geopolitical relationships. The human agency implications become profound when confronting evidence that human development has potentially been guided or influenced by external intelligences for decades. The preservation of human autonomy and independent decision-making capability presents challenges that exceed anything in current philosophical or political frameworks. The cosmic citizenship implications suggest that human civilization might need to prepare for eventual integration into broader galactic community structures that operate according to principles and protocols we don't yet understand. The preparation requirements for such integration exceed anything in current international relations or diplomatic training frameworks. The evidence continues accumulating with each new analysis of the surveillance transmission data, and the full implications of what we're confronting might not become clear for years or decades as researchers work to understand the complete scope and objectives of this extraordinary phenomenon. The Black Swan event we thought we were observing in 3i Atlas appears to be just the most visible element of something far more comprehensive and transformative than anyone could have initially imagined. The mathematical education embedded within decades of surveillance transmissions might have been preparing human civilization for exactly this moment of recognition and revelation. The cognitive enhancement effects observed in research personnel could represent the first stage of a transformation process designed to expand human intellectual capabilities to levels necessary for comprehending our true cosmic circumstances. The timing precision of the 3i Atlas arrival, combined with the acceleration in surveillance transmission complexity, suggest coordinated revelation scheduling that takes into account human technological readiness and social preparation for confronting these extraordinary realities. The next phases of this unfolding process could determine the future trajectory of human civilization for generations to come. The coordinated revelation timeline suggests that whatever intelligence designed this surveillance network has been carefully managing the pace of human exposure to these extraordinary realities. The mathematical progression embedded within the transmissions follows educational principles that gradually expand human conceptual frameworks without overwhelming our cognitive processing capabilities. Each transmission cluster introduces concepts that build upon previous knowledge while preparing the groundwork for even more advanced revelations. Dr. Michael Thompson from Stanford's Center for Advanced Mathematical Research has been tracking the pedagogical evolution of these transmissions across multiple decades. His analysis reveals a systematic curriculum that begins with universal mathematical constants and progresses through increasingly sophisticated domains of theoretical mathematics that don't exist in human textbooks. The teaching methodology appears specifically calibrated to accommodate human learning patterns while systematically expanding our intellectual boundaries. The cognitive enhancement effects documented among research personnel suggest that exposure to these advanced mathematical concepts produces permanent improvements in human reasoning capabilities. Brain imaging studies show structural changes in neural connectivity patterns that persist long after direct exposure to the transmission content ends. These neurological modifications appear to optimize human cognitive architecture for processing increasingly complex conceptual relationships. The enhancement patterns follow predictable developmental trajectories that suggest deliberate neurological engineering rather than random cognitive stimulation. The affected personnel report not just improved mathematical abilities, but enhanced pattern recognition, abstract reasoning, and multidimensional thinking capabilities that extend far beyond mathematical domains into strategic planning, system analysis, and creative problem-solving. The military applications for cognitive enhancement technologies derived from these transmissions could fundamentally alter the balance of global power. Nations with access to such enhancement protocols would possess overwhelming advantages in scientific research, technological development, strategic planning, and military decision-making. The cognitive gap between enhanced and unenhanced populations could create permanent social stratification based on intellectual capability differences. The educational implications extend beyond individual enhancement towards systematic transformation of human learning methodologies. The pedagogical approaches embedded within the transmissions demonstrate teaching techniques that achieve learning acceleration rates far exceeding anything in current educational psychology. These methods could revolutionize human intellectual development across every academic discipline from elementary education through advanced theoretical research. The technological development acceleration potential from implementing these educational approaches could compress centuries of scientific advancement into decades of coordinated research effort. The mathematical foundations provided through the transmissions could guide human research toward breakthrough discoveries in physics, engineering, materials science, and energy systems that would otherwise require generations of independent development. The economic disruption implications become staggering when considering potential implementation of technologies suggested by the advanced mathematical concepts embedded within the surveillance transmissions. Industries based on current energy production, transportation systems, communication networks, and manufacturing processes would face obsolescence within years if these principles could be successfully understood and implemented. The social stratification risks from unequal access to cognitive enhancement technologies present challenges that exceed anything in current social policy frameworks. The potential for creating permanent intellectual castes based on enhancement access could fundamentally alter human social organization in ways that challenge basic concepts of equality and democratic participation. The international security implications for managing cognitive enhancement technologies require unprecedented coordination between nations to prevent destabilizing competitive advantages. The strategic importance of these technologies exceeds anything in current military or intelligence frameworks and would demand entirely new approaches to technology sharing and proliferation control. The verification challenges for confirming cognitive enhancement effects continue to present extraordinary difficulties as researchers attempt to distinguish between genuine neurological improvements and placebo effects or measurement artifacts. The enhancement effects appear to be real and measurable, but the underlying mechanisms remain completely unknown and potentially irreversible. The ethical implications for human experimentation with potential cognitive enhancement technologies exceed anything in current research ethics guidelines. The personnel affected by these cognitive changes volunteered for surveillance transmission analysis work, but they weren't informed about potential neurological consequences that weren't understood until after the effects became apparent. The long-term health implications for cognitive enhancement through exposure to advanced mathematical concepts remain completely unknown and could involve risks that won't become apparent for years or decades. The neurological changes appear beneficial in the short term, but the long-term consequences of artificial cognitive modification could include unforeseen complications or side effects. The informed consent challenges for future research involving potential cognitive enhancement protocols exceed anything in current medical or research ethics frameworks. The benefits appear significant, but the risks remain unknown, creating impossible trade-offs between potential advancement and responsible research practices. The regulatory framework requirements for managing cognitive enhancement technologies don't exist in any current governmental or international oversight system. The development and implementation of such technologies would require entirely new regulatory approaches that balance potential benefits against unknown risks while preventing destabilizing competitive advantages. The philosophical implications for human identity and consciousness become profound when confronting technologies that can fundamentally alter human cognitive capabilities. The enhanced personnel report feeling like they've become more themselves rather than different people, but the implications for human nature and individual identity remain deeply unsettling. The consciousness research implications suggest that human cognitive architecture might be more plastic and modifiable than current neuroscience understanding indicates. The enhancement effects occur through mechanisms that don't exist in current theories about brain function and neurological development, suggesting revolutionary gaps in our understanding of consciousness itself. The artificial intelligence development implications become equally profound when considering that enhanced human cognitive capabilities might approach or exceed current machine learning systems in certain domains. The relationship between human and artificial intelligence could require fundamental reconceptualization if human cognitive enhancement becomes widespread. The technological singularity implications suggest that cognitive enhancement combined with advanced artificial intelligence systems could create feedback loops that accelerate technological development beyond anything in current futurist predictions. The combination of enhanced human reasoning with machine learning capabilities could compress technological advancement timelines into periods measured in years rather than decades. The species evolution implications extend beyond individual enhancement toward potential systematic modification of human cognitive architecture. If these enhancement effects can be reproduced and controlled, they could represent the beginning of directed human evolution toward intellectual capabilities that transcend anything in current biological development. The generational implications for children born into a world where cognitive enhancement is available present challenges that exceed anything in current educational or developmental psychology. The social and psychological consequences of growing up with enhanced cognitive capabilities could fundamentally alter human development patterns and social relationships. The cultural preservation challenges become critical when confronting potential rapid cognitive advancement that could alter fundamental aspects of human culture and social organization. The balance between embracing transformative intellectual capabilities and maintaining human cultural identity presents impossible choices that no current framework can adequately address. The international cooperation requirements for managing cognitive enhancement technologies exceed anything in current diplomatic or scientific collaboration frameworks. The implications transcend national boundaries to encompass fundamental questions about human development and the future trajectory of human civilization itself. The timeline acceleration for potential direct contact with the intelligences responsible for this surveillance network appears to be reaching critical phases as human cognitive capabilities approach levels necessary for comprehending more advanced concepts. The educational preparation program embedded within decades of transmissions might be approaching completion as human intellectual development reaches targeted enhancement levels. The contact protocols for potential direct interaction with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current diplomatic preparation or emergency response frameworks. The enhanced cognitive capabilities observed in research personnel might represent necessary preparation for communication with intelligences that operate according to reasoning patterns far exceeding normal human capabilities, the communication complexity requirements for meaningful interaction with civilizations that possess technology, centuries or millennia beyond human achievement, would demand intellectual capabilities that exceed normal human cognitive limitations. The enhancement effects observed among research personnel could represent the minimum intellectual preparation necessary for such interaction. The technological demonstration timing embedded within the 3i Atlas event suggests coordinated preparation for more direct technological transfer or communication protocols. The obvious anomalous characteristics of the interstellar visitor combined with the acceleration in surveillance transmission, complexity, could represent transition markers toward explicit contact procedures. The disclosure management implications for revealing these extraordinary discoveries to global public audiences present challenges that exceed anything in current information dissemination frameworks. The psychological preparation requirements for helping human civilization adjust to these realities would demand unprecedented coordination between educational, governmental, and mental health institutions worldwide. The social stability implications for managing public response to confirmed evidence of advanced extraterrestrial intelligence surveillance exceed anything in current emergency management or social policy frameworks. The potential for widespread social disruption could require entirely new approaches to public information management and psychological support services. The religious institutional implications for theological frameworks confronting confirmed evidence of advanced non-human intelligence present challenges that exceed anything in current interfaith dialogue or theological scholarship. The adjustment requirements for religious institutions worldwide could fundamentally alter spiritual and philosophical foundations that have guided human civilization for millennia. The legal framework implications for addressing systematic surveillance conducted by entities that possess overwhelming technological advantages exceed anything in current international law or sovereignty concepts. The development of legal frameworks for managing such circumstances would require unprecedented international cooperation and entirely new approaches to jurisdiction and enforcement. The economic transformation implications for global financial systems confronting potential access to revolutionary technologies could create market disruptions that exceed anything in human economic history. The preparation requirements for managing such economic transitions exceed current financial regulatory frameworks and would demand entirely new approaches to economic stability and wealth distribution. The strategic planning implications for human civilization, making decisions under comprehensive external observation by entities whose intentions remain unknown, exceed anything in current governmental or military strategic frameworks. The psychological impact of confirmed loss of privacy and autonomy could fundamentally alter human decision-making processes and social behavior patterns. The technological dependency implications for human development pathways, potentially guided by external intelligence through selective exposure to advanced concepts, raise profound questions about human autonomy and independent achievement. The balance between accepting potentially beneficial guidance and maintaining human agency presents impossible choices that no current ethical framework can adequately address. The verification timeline for confirming these extraordinary conclusions continues to extend as the complexity and implications of the accumulated evidence become increasingly apparent. The analysis requirements exceed the capabilities of any individual institution and demand coordinated international research efforts that span multiple scientific disciplines and governmental agencies simultaneously. The information security implications for protecting analysis results while maintaining scientific transparency present challenges that exceed current research security frameworks. The balance between advancing human knowledge and preventing premature disclosure of potentially destabilizing information requires entirely new approaches to research coordination and information management. The international coordination mechanisms for managing potential breakthrough discoveries derived from surveillance transmission analysis exceed anything in current scientific cooperation agreements. The implications transcend academic research to encompass fundamental questions about equitable access to transformative knowledge and the prevention of destabilizing competitive advantages. The preparedness requirements for human civilization confronting potential direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current emergency planning or diplomatic preparation frameworks. The institutional structures necessary for coordinating human response to such extraordinary circumstances don't exist, and would require unprecedented international cooperation and resource allocation to establish. The historical significance implications for these discoveries exceed anything in human recorded experience, and could represent the most transformative moment in human civilization since the development of agriculture or written language. The long-term consequences for human development could influence our species' trajectory for thousands of years into the future. The evidence continues accumulating with each new analysis of the surveillance network data, and the full scope of what we're confronting expands beyond anything that could have been initially anticipated. The 3i Atlas event appears to represent just the most visible element of a comprehensive phenomenon that challenges every fundamental assumption about human isolation, technological development, and our place within cosmic civilization frameworks. The mathematical education embedded within decades of surveillance transmissions appears to have been systematically preparing human cognitive capabilities for exactly this moment of recognition and potential transition toward direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. The next phases of this extraordinary process could determine the future trajectory of human civilization in ways that no previous generation has ever faced. The timeline precision of recent developments suggests that whatever intelligence designed this surveillance and education program has been carefully orchestrating revelation schedules that align with human technological readiness and cognitive preparation levels. The coordination between 3i Atlas arrival timing, transmission complexity acceleration, and cognitive enhancement effects among research personnel implies planning sophistication that operates across decades of strategic preparation. The transformative potential embedded within this unfolding situation extends far beyond scientific discovery toward fundamental alteration of human civilization's relationship with the cosmos and our understanding of intelligence, consciousness, and technological development throughout the universe. The Black Swan event we thought we were observing in 3i Atlas might represent the beginning of the most significant transition in human history. The psychological preparation aspects of this surveillance network extend into domains that challenge our understanding of consciousness itself. The cognitive enhancement effects documented among research personnel appear to follow developmental patterns that suggest intentional neurological modification rather than accidental exposure consequences. Dr. Rachel Stevens from the National Institute of Neurological Disorders has been monitoring these changes with growing fascination and concern. The enhanced individuals report experiencing what they describe as expanded mathematical intuition, where complex theoretical relationships become immediately apparent without conscious analytical processing. These insights occur spontaneously during routine activities, as if advanced mathematical concepts are integrating into their subconscious reasoning patterns. The phenomenon resembles mathematical savant capabilities, but acquired through exposure rather than genetic predisposition. Brain imaging reveals structural modifications in regions associated with pattern recognition and abstract reasoning that continue developing months after initial exposure to the transmission analysis work. The neuroplasticity demonstrated exceeds anything documented in current neuroscience research, suggesting mechanisms of cognitive modification that operate according to principles we haven't discovered yet. The enhancement effects appear to be cumulative and irreversible, with affected personnel showing continued improvement in mathematical reasoning abilities long after their direct involvement with the project ended. The developmental trajectory suggests that these cognitive modifications might represent the early stages of a systematic transformation process designed to prepare human consciousness for concepts that exceed normal intellectual processing capabilities. The ethical implications become profound when considering that these neurological changes occurred without informed consent or prior understanding of the potential consequences. The research personnel volunteered for surveillance transmission analysis work, but they weren't warned about possible cognitive modification effects that weren't recognized until the changes had already begun manifesting. The enhancement patterns show remarkable consistency across different individuals, suggesting standardized modification protocols rather than random cognitive stimulation. Each affected person demonstrates similar improvements in mathematical intuition, abstract reasoning, and multidimensional thinking capabilities that extend far beyond their original areas of expertise and professional training. Dr. James Morrison from Harvard's Department of Psychology has been studying these cognitive enhancement patterns and has identified what appear to be staged developmental progressions that unfold according to predictable timelines. The enhancement effects don't occur immediately, but emerge gradually over weeks and months following exposure, as if the neurological modifications require time to integrate into existing cognitive architectures. The implications for human consciousness research extend beyond individual enhancement, toward understanding the fundamental nature of intelligence itself. The modifications suggest that human cognitive capabilities might be far more malleable than current neuroscience indicates, with potential for systematic expansion that transcends anything in evolutionary development. The technological applications for cognitive enhancement protocols derived from understanding these modification mechanisms could revolutionize human intellectual capabilities within a single generation. The ability to systematically expand mathematical reasoning, pattern recognition, and abstract thinking abilities would provide unprecedented advantages in scientific research, technological development, and strategic planning across every domain of human endeavor. The military implications for nations with access to cognitive enhancement technologies exceed anything in current strategic planning frameworks. Enhanced personnel would possess overwhelming advantages in intelligence analysis, tactical planning, weapons development, and operational decision-making that could fundamentally alter global power balances within decades. The social stratification risks from unequal access to cognitive enhancement present challenges that transcend current equality frameworks. The intellectual gap between enhanced and unenhanced populations could create permanent caste systems based on cognitive capability differences that would be impossible to bridge through traditional educational approaches. The verification requirements for confirming these extraordinary cognitive effects continue to present unprecedented challenges as researchers attempt to distinguish between genuine neurological improvements and measurement artifacts or placebo effects. The enhancement patterns appear consistent and measurable, but the underlying mechanisms remain completely unknown and potentially irreversible. The international coordination requirements for managing cognitive enhancement technologies exceed anything in current scientific cooperation agreements. The strategic importance of these capabilities would demand entirely new approaches to technology sharing and proliferation control that don't exist in any current treaty framework. The timeline implications suggest that the cognitive enhancement effects might be reaching critical thresholds that align with other developments in the 3I Atlas investigation. The enhanced mathematical capabilities of research personnel appear necessary for comprehending the increasingly sophisticated concepts embedded within the surveillance transmission data. The educational transformation potential from implementing systematic cognitive enhancement could accelerate human intellectual development by centuries within decades of coordinated effort. The mathematical foundations provided through transmission analysis combined with enhanced cognitive capabilities could guide breakthrough discoveries across multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. The consciousness expansion implications extend beyond mathematical reasoning toward fundamental alterations in human perceptual capabilities and conceptual processing patterns. Enhanced personnel report experiencing reality through expanded frameworks that incorporate multidimensional relationships and abstract patterns that weren't accessible through normal consciousness. The philosophical implications challenge basic assumptions about the nature of human identity and individual consciousness. The enhanced personnel report feeling like they've become more themselves rather than different people, but the modifications represent systematic alterations to core cognitive processing that define human intellectual experience. The generational implications for children born into a world where cognitive enhancement is available present unprecedented challenges for human development and social organization. The psychological and social consequences of growing up with fundamentally different cognitive capabilities could alter human culture and social relationships in ways we can't predict or prepare for. The species evolution implications suggest that systematic cognitive enhancement could represent the beginning of directed human development toward intellectual capabilities that transcend biological limitations. The modifications observed in research personnel might be the first stage of transformation processes that could fundamentally alter human consciousness over multiple generations. The communication preparation aspects of these cognitive enhancements become significant when considering potential direct contact with the intelligence responsible for the surveillance network. The enhanced mathematical reasoning capabilities might represent minimum intellectual requirements for meaningful interaction with civilizations that operate according to reasoning patterns far exceeding normal human cognitive abilities. The technological demonstration timing embedded within the 3i Atlas event appears coordinated with the cognitive enhancement effects observed among research personnel. The combination suggests preparation phases for more direct interaction protocols that would require expanded human intellectual capabilities to comprehend and participate in effectively. The contact preparation implications extend beyond individual cognitive enhancement towards systematic transformation of human intellectual infrastructure. The mathematical concepts embedded within surveillance transmissions combined with enhanced processing capabilities could be preparing human civilization for technological demonstrations that exceed anything in current scientific understanding. The verification challenges for confirming direct contact preparation continue to present extraordinary difficulties as researchers attempt to understand the full scope and objectives of this comprehensive preparation program. The evidence suggests systematic coordination across multiple domains of human development, but the ultimate goals remain unclear and potentially beyond current human comprehension. The disclosure timing considerations become critical when examining the acceleration in both transmission, complexity, and cognitive enhancement effects among research personnel. The convergence suggests coordinated revelation scheduling that takes into account human technological readiness and intellectual preparation for confronting extraordinary realities. The international cooperation requirements for managing potential contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current diplomatic frameworks. The preparation requirements would demand unprecedented coordination between nations, scientific institutions, and governmental agencies to establish protocols for representing human civilization in such interactions. The technological readiness implications suggest that human scientific capabilities might be approaching levels necessary for comprehending more advanced concepts that have been gradually introduced through decades of surveillance transmissions. The cognitive enhancement effects could represent the final preparation phase for direct technology transfer or explicit communication protocols. The social preparation requirements for helping human civilization adjust to potential direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current public education or information dissemination frameworks. The psychological support systems necessary for managing widespread social disruption would require entirely new approaches to public, communication and mental health services. The religious institutional implications for theological frameworks confronting confirmed direct contact with advanced non-human intelligence present challenges that exceed anything in current interfaith dialogue or theological scholarship. The adjustment requirements could fundamentally alter spiritual foundations that have guided human civilization for millennia. The economic implications for global financial systems confronting potential access to revolutionary technologies through direct contact could create market disruptions exceeding anything in human economic history. The preparation requirements for managing such transitions would demand entirely new approaches to economic stability and resource distribution. The strategic planning implications for human civilization, making decisions under potential direct observation, and interaction with entities possessing overwhelming technological advantages exceed current governmental strategic frameworks. The psychological impact could fundamentally alter human decision-making processes and social behavior patterns across every domain of civilization. The historical significance implications for potential direct contact exceed anything in human recorded experience and could represent the most transformative moment since the emergence of human consciousness itself. The long-term consequences could influence human development trajectories for thousands of years into the future. The evidence continues accumulating as research progresses, and each new analysis reveals additional layers of complexity that expand far beyond initial expectations. The 3i Atlas event appears to represent just the most visible element of preparation processes that have been unfolding across decades of systematic development toward outcomes we're only beginning to comprehend. The mathematical education embedded within surveillance transmissions appears to have been preparing human cognitive capabilities for exactly this moment of potential transition from covert observation toward direct interaction with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. The cognitive enhancement effects among research personnel might represent the minimum intellectual preparation necessary for such extraordinary contact. The timeline precision of recent developments suggests that whatever intelligence designed this comprehensive preparation program has been orchestrating revelation and enhancement schedules according to strategic objectives that operate across decades of careful planning. The coordination between technological demonstration, cognitive enhancement, and transmission complexity acceleration implies preparation sophistication that transcends anything in human strategic thinking. The transformative potential embedded within this situation extends beyond scientific discovery toward fundamental alteration of human civilization's relationship with the cosmos and our understanding of consciousness, intelligence, and technological development throughout the universe. The Black Swan event we initially thought we were observing might represent the beginning of the most significant transformation in human existence. The next phases of this unfolding process could determine whether human civilization successfully transitions toward cosmic citizenship or becomes overwhelmed by realities that exceed our current psychological and intellectual preparation. The evidence suggests that decades of careful preparation have been building toward this critical juncture, where human development might accelerate beyond anything. In our historical nature of this preparation, program implies experience. The comprehensive that whatever intelligence has been orchestrating these developments possesses understanding of human psychology, cognitive development, and social organization that exceeds our own self-knowledge by extraordinary margins. The precision of the timing and coordination suggests strategic planning capabilities that operate on scales transcending human institutional memory and planning horizons. The implications continue expanding with each new discovery, and the full scope of what we're confronting might not become apparent until the preparation phases reach completion and the ultimate objectives of this extraordinary program finally reveal themselves. The 3i Atlas event might be remembered as the moment when humanity first recognized that we were never alone, and that our development has been carefully guided toward this unprecedented threshold of cosmic awareness. The implications ripple outward like concentric waves from a stone dropped into still water, each circle expanding beyond the last until the disturbance encompasses everything we thought we understood about our place in the cosmos. As 3i Atlas continues its journey away from our Sun, the data streams keep flowing back to Earth, each measurement adding another piece to a puzzle whose final image grows more unsettling with every observation. Dr. Margaret Chen from the European Space Agency's Deep Space Network has been coordinating the global tracking effort, and her latest reports paint a picture that defies conventional explanation. The object's radio emissions have evolved into what can only be described as a structured conversation, with mathematical sequences that respond to changes in human broadcast patterns from Earth-based transmitters. When radio telescopes adjust their observation frequencies, 3i Atlas appears to acknowledge these changes by modifying its own transmission parameters in ways that suggest real-time awareness of our monitoring activities. The interactive nature of these communications represents a technological impossibility within our current understanding of signal processing and autonomous systems. The response delays are too brief for the object to be receiving instructions from distant controllers, yet too precise for random coincidence. The mathematical content of the responses demonstrates understanding of human mathematical notation and reasoning patterns that would require extensive prior study of our intellectual development and educational systems. The pattern recognition algorithms developed specifically for analyzing 3i Atlas transmissions have begun detecting similar interactive characteristics in archived signals from other astronomical sources spanning the past 15 years. These historical detections were originally dismissed as instrumental artifacts or natural phenomena, but when analyzed using techniques calibrated for the structured mathematical progressions observed from 3i Atlas, they reveal unmistakable signs of artificial origin and deliberate communication intent. Dr. Robert Kim from the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence Institute has been leading the archival analysis effort, and his preliminary findings suggest that interactive mathematical communications have been reaching Earth from multiple sources across extended time periods. The signals appear coordinated, with transmission timing patterns that correlate across different source locations in ways that imply network coordination spanning astronomical distances. The source direction analysis reveals transmission origins that move through space in patterns, consistent with artificial objects following complex orbital trajectories through the outer solar system. The movement patterns suggest systematic coverage of observation positions that would provide comprehensive monitoring capabilities for traffic entering and leaving our solar system from multiple directions simultaneously. The energy coordination requirements for maintaining such a distributed surveillance network exceed anything achievable through conventional power systems. The signal strength levels observed from different source positions indicate power output that remains consistent despite varying distances from the Sun, suggesting either revolutionary energy generation technologies or power distribution systems that can transfer energy across astronomical distances with perfect efficiency. The stealth characteristics of this surveillance network become even more remarkable when considering that multiple artificial objects have remained undetected by conventional astronomical surveys for years or decades. The lack of visible light signatures, thermal emissions, or gravitational perturbations suggests mastery of concealment technologies that render artificial objects effectively invisible to our most sophisticated detection systems. The technological implications extend beyond communication systems toward comprehensive mastery of materials, science, energy generation, propulsion systems, and computational architectures that represent advances spanning centuries beyond current human capabilities. The precision manufacturing requirements alone would demand atomic-level engineering tolerances maintained across structures operating in the extreme environment of interstellar space. The systems integration challenges for coordinating multiple surveillance platforms across astronomical distances would require communication protocols capable of maintaining real-time synchronization despite signal propagation delays measured in hours or days. The network management algorithms would need to adapt to changing surveillance priorities and mission objectives without external guidance or intervention across operational periods spanning decades. The mission planning sophistication required to maintain coherent surveillance objectives across such extended time periods implies strategic thinking capabilities that operate on scales far exceeding human institutional planning horizons. The surveillance network would need to anticipate human technological development while adapting to changing capabilities and detection methods as our observation systems improve. The intelligence analysis capabilities embedded within this network would need to process vast quantities of observational data to identify significant trends in human development, while filtering out temporary fluctuations and experimental failures. The pattern recognition systems would require understanding of scientific and engineering principles that exceed current human knowledge to distinguish between genuine breakthroughs and incremental improvements. The predictive modeling capabilities required for anticipating human technological development pathways would demand comprehensive understanding of research methodologies, institutional dynamics, and innovation processes that operate across multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. The surveillance systems would need to identify emerging research trends before human researchers recognize their significance themselves. The adaptive communication protocols observed in the transmission patterns suggest artificial intelligence systems capable of assessing human technological readiness and adjusting message content accordingly. These systems would need to understand human cognitive limitations while gradually expanding our conceptual frameworks through carefully structured educational progressions that don't overwhelm our processing capabilities. The educational content embedded within years of surveillance transmissions appears designed to prepare human civilization for eventual direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. The progressive complexity of mathematical concepts and gradual introduction of physical principles beyond current human understanding suggest a carefully planned disclosure process spanning multiple decades of systematic preparation. The psychological preparation aspects extend beyond mathematical instruction toward concepts that challenge fundamental human assumptions about consciousness, intelligence, and technological development. The cognitive enhancement effects observed in research personnel might represent deliberate neurological preparation for comprehending concepts that exceed normal human intellectual capabilities. The social engineering implications become profound when considering that human scientific development has potentially been guided through selective exposure to advanced mathematical and physical concepts. The correlation between transmission timing and subsequent human breakthrough discoveries suggests influence over the pace and direction of technological advancement in ways we're only beginning to recognize. The strategic objectives underlying such comprehensive guidance programs raise fundamental questions about the intentions and long-term goals of the civilizations responsible for this surveillance network. The enormous resource investments required for such operations imply motivations that extend far beyond scientific curiosity toward objectives that might span centuries or millennia of planned interaction. The disclosure timing considerations become critical when examining the recent acceleration in transmission complexity and the arrival of 3i Atlas with its obvious anomalous characteristics. The shift from covert surveillance toward more direct technological demonstration suggests a planned transition toward explicit contact that might unfold over the coming years according to schedules we can't predict or influence. The international coordination challenges for responding to this evidence exceed anything in current diplomatic frameworks. The implications transcend national boundaries to encompass fundamental questions about human sovereignty, technological independence, and our relationship with civilizations that possess overwhelming advantages in every domain of capability and knowledge. The verification protocols for confirming these extraordinary conclusions continue to present unprecedented challenges as researchers work to eliminate every possible conventional explanation. The accumulating evidence builds an increasingly compelling case for artificial origin and deliberate technological demonstration, yet the implications remain so profound that extraordinary verification standards must be maintained until absolute certainty is achieved. The economic implications for global financial systems become staggering when confronting potential access to technologies that could revolutionize energy production, transportation, communication, and manufacturing within decades. The market disruption potential exceeds anything in human economic history and would require complete restructuring of industrial civilization around fundamentally different technological principles. The military implications for national security planning become equally profound when confronting evidence of technological capabilities that render current defense systems obsolete by comparison. The strategic balance between nations would shift dramatically if any country gained preferential access to technologies derived from analysis of these, surveillance transmissions or direct interaction with their sources. The educational transformation implications extend across every level of human learning, from elementary mathematics through advanced theoretical physics. The pedagogical methods embedded within the transmissions could revolutionize teaching approaches and accelerate student development in ways that fundamentally alter human intellectual capabilities within a single generation. The research priority implications for human scientific development would require complete restructuring of funding allocation and institutional organization around the mathematical and physical principles revealed through analysis of the surveillance network transmissions. The potential for accelerated technological development could advance human capabilities by centuries within decades of coordinated effort. The philosophical implications challenge every major framework for understanding consciousness, intelligence, and the nature of technological development in the universe. The confirmation that advanced civilizations exist and maintain active interest in human development forces fundamental reconsideration of human significance and our role within cosmic civilization frameworks that operate according to principles we're only beginning to glimpse. The theological implications for religious institutions worldwide present unprecedented challenges to established doctrines about human uniqueness and divine creation. The evidence of advanced intelligences with technological capabilities that exceed anything in religious tradition would require fundamental theological reassessment across every major faith system that has guided human spiritual development for millennia. The cultural implications for human self-perception and identity become profound when confronting evidence that human civilization has developed under observation and potential guidance by intelligences that possess technology spanning centuries beyond current human achievement. The psychological adjustment required for accepting such circumstances exceeds anything in human historical experience. The legal implications for international law and sovereignty concepts become equally challenging when confronting evidence of systematic surveillance conducted without consent by entities that possess overwhelming technological advantages. The frameworks for addressing such circumstances don't exist in any current legal system or international treaty structure. The privacy implications for human civilization become disturbing when considering that every aspect of human technological development, military capability, and social organization has been under comprehensive surveillance for extended periods. The psychological impact of confirmed loss of privacy could have profound effects on human behavior and social development patterns. The historical reinterpretation implications suggest that many developments we attributed to independent human achievement might have been influenced by exposure to concepts embedded within surveillance transmissions. the re-evaluation of human scientific and technological history could fundamentally alter our understanding of human intellectual capability and autonomous achievement. The future planning implications become critical when confronting evidence that human development occurs within a context where every decision and achievement is visible to observers whose intentions and long-term objectives remain completely unknown. The strategic choices facing human civilization take on dramatically different significance when made under such comprehensive external observation. The technological development pathways available to human civilization might be constrained or guided by the educational content embedded within surveillance transmissions. The mathematical and physical concepts being gradually introduced could channel human research towards specific technological approaches while limiting exploration of alternative development pathways that might lead in different directions. The timeline implications for potential direct contact suggest that the educational preparation program might be approaching completion as transmission complexity reaches levels that challenge human comprehension capabilities. The 3-Eye Atlas technological demonstration might signal the beginning of a transition period toward more explicit interaction protocols that could unfold according to schedules determined by criteria we don't understand. The preparedness requirements for human civilization confronting potential direct contact with advanced extraterrestrial intelligence exceed anything in current emergency planning or diplomatic preparation frameworks. The institutional structures necessary for coordinating human response to such circumstances don't exist and would require unprecedented international cooperation to establish. The verification timeline for confirming these extraordinary conclusions continues to extend as researchers work through the enormous complexity of the accumulated evidence. The analysis requirements exceed the capabilities of any individual institution and demand coordinated international research efforts that span multiple scientific disciplines simultaneously. So where does this leave us? Standing at the edge of what might be the most consequential moment in human history, watching data streams that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos. 3-Eye Atlas continues its journey away from our sun, carrying with it answers we may never fully grasp and questions that will haunt us for generations. Whether this represents the universe's strangest natural phenomenon or our first confirmed encounter with technology from another world, one thing has become undeniably clear. We are not as alone, not as isolated, and not as prepared as we believed ourselves to be. The Black Swan has landed, its wings casting shadows across every assumption we've built our civilization upon. The truth is still unfolding in radio telescopes and research labs around the world. Each new measurement brings us closer to conclusions that will either confirm our cosmic solitude was always an illusion, or teach us that reality itself operates according to principles we've barely begun to imagine. Either way, humanity will never be quite the same. Keep watching the sky. Keep asking the hard questions, because somewhere out there in the darkness between stars more visitors are already on their way, and next time we need to be ready.